What's up, everybody? Good morning and happy Monday. DK Show coming to you from the TDS Sports Talk Studios this morning. Thanks for hanging out with us and making us a part of your brand new work week. Whether you are listening on the radio dials of 105.1 FM, 790 AM, streaming us up online at sportstalk1051.com. You've got the app, you've got your smart devices, and of course the video stream that's up and rolling on Man Cave TV on YouTube here this morning. What do we have on our game plan? We've got lots to catch up on. We've got Brewers continuing their awesome start to the regular season, picking up another series win, taking down the Kansas City Royals, winning 2 out of 3. With Friday's game being postponed, they had a split doubleheader on Saturday. Brewers picking up 1 win out of the 2 games there, and then securing the series finale win yesterday. So the Brewers are off to a 7-2 start to be in this 2026 campaign. Their American League run will continue as they will be taking on the Boston Red Sox tonight. Brandon Woodruff getting his second start of the season tonight. First pitch around 5:45 tonight. So lots to catch up on in the Brewers world. Going back, 5-2 win, first game of this series on Saturday. They did drop the second game 8-2, but then yesterday in a little bit of a back and forth affair, Brewers able to pick up an 8-5 win to secure that series win. So Brewers wise, We'll hit this up and talk a lot about baseball here this morning, including your thoughts. Just kind of, taking a look at another series win for the Brew Crew. What are your thoughts on what you've seen so far from this team 9 games into the season? A lot to like here. I think there's a lot to like. Garrett Mitchell, 5 RBIs. In that first game, you had Kyle Harrison with his second start yesterday. I thought he looked solid. Gary Sanchez is, leading the team in home runs right now, taking advantage of his opportunities. Contreras yesterday had a solid day. Yelly had a triple. He's off to a good start too. So, there's a lot to like so far from this team. But we'll go through it all here in just a little bit. We'll talk some Brewers baseball on our leadoff. It is the final week of the regular season here for the Milwaukee Bucks. They did pick up a win yesterday, but there sure seems like there's more drama brewing between Giannis and the Milwaukee Bucks. Lori Nickel from the Milwaukee Journal-Sentinel able to talk to Giannis and getting some really good stuff from Giannis and such. One, remember that comments that we had heard? Oh, man, was that when that was a couple weeks ago when I think the tournament first started off. But Wes Edens, there was that article on ESPN where he said, Giannis essentially is going to be traded or will sign a contract extension this offseason. Giannis responding to that comment saying, quote, "It's like a slap in my face. A slap in my face," he said. Was not happy. And in fact, saying he's barely even talked to ownership, whether it was Wes Edens or Jimmy Haslam. Said he's talked to Wes Edens once via Zoom, twice with Jimmy Haslam, one of them Zoom, and one of them was around right before a game. So you got that. He also said that this season obviously it was been a down season for more ways than one, injuries and obviously the team and such. But Giannis admitted that he struggled this year with separation from his family. You remember earlier in the season, because there was everybody that was kind of running with this, like, oh, Giannis is moving his family to Greece. What's going on? They're staying in Greece. And Giannis opened up about it and said essentially they stayed in Greece to try to get away from all the media speculation about what was going to happen with him this year. And so he said he really struggled with that. Struggled with it because his family has been, we know this. We've seen this. We obviously we don't know a whole lot about the inside stuff of of Giannis in that. But we know priority number one for him is his family. That's priority number one, is his family. And he admitted it. He really struggled with that this season, being away from his family, and it affected him on the courts. It affected his mind space this year. So really good stuff from Lori Nickel from the Milwaukee Journal-Sentinel, kind of getting a little bit of a peek behind the curtain, if you will, about this whole Giannis situation. Then you add in the investigation is still continuing. Still continuing, that whether Giannis, whether the Bucks are purposely sitting out Giannis, and, when he should be playing, Giannis says he still wants to play. A lot of it is because he wants to be on the court and play with his brother Alex. So, yeah, there's a lot of stuff. And the other part of it, too, was that, Giannis did confirm that Bucks and Knicks discussed a trade involving him, too. So there's a lot to go through on this thing. But we'll get to that coming up here in a little while here, too. Talk some hoops as we start to wrap up this regular season here. That I think a lot of us Bucks fans are ready to move on from and such. So, but we'll get to that. Speaking of hoops, we've got the national championship tonight. UConn taking on Michigan after Michigan dominating Arizona in the Final Four matchup on Saturday. UConn ending Illinois' run. So we've got the conclusion of that on the women's side. Obviously, a little bit of drama with Gino and Dawn Staley from their Final Four matchup, UConn and South Carolina. But yesterday, UCLA taking out South Carolina on the women's side to capture their first national championship. So we'll hit that up and talk some hoops throughout this morning. College hoops. Get your picks in, all right? That's what I want to hear from you. Who you rolling with tonight? Are you going to go with the Wolverines of Michigan? Or are you going to go with the UConn Huskies? Who are you picking for tonight's championship game? We'll continue our Packers draft prospect countdown series as we are just a couple weeks away from the NFL draft. Obviously, we don't have a first-round pick, but in case you've missed the numerous times we've been doing this, we've been highlighting some potential picks here with for the Packers that they could target on day 2, rounds 2 and 3. So we'll go through a couple more prospects, but also Packers-wise, Ed Policy clearing the air. All right, Ed, clearing the air here a little bit on this whole naming rights, do we say talk, narrative, story, whatever we want to call it. So in his column, Mark Murphy started this where he takes 5 questions and such on Packers.com. Ed Policy has continued that tradition where he has taken questions from fans and such, calls it, instead of Murphy takes 5, it's Policy's perspective. And it's got the title right here, says, let's clear this stadium thing up. So he clarifies some of his comments about the naming rights to Lambeau Field. Essentially, don't worry about it right now, Packers fans, okay? Just don't. Don't worry about it. It's not a thing, okay? Not a thing. Not a thing that they're looking to do, and it's not a thing that's going to be happening anytime soon. So, but let's have a little fun with this next one here. So we've talked a little bit about Packers alternate uniforms and such, and that's going to happen this year because the NFL is doing this rivalry thing. And one of the questions he got was from, is this from Eric from Oshkosh? Hello, Mr. Policy. Can we please do an actual alternate uniform at some point? For decades, the answer has been that we just don't want to break with the historic tradition of the Packers. We get that. but it's not like anyone is asking to permanently change the uniforms. I like the number of throwbacks, but still don't understand why the Packers are so reluctant to try something new and creative during the season. Is the organization afraid that too many people might actually prefer the new look and pose a threat to the traditional one? Policy responds by saying, thanks, Eric. Yes, as I mentioned back in November, there is a true alternate uniform in the works. Last year, the NFL unveiled a new rivalries uniform for teams in the AFC East and the NFC West. The NFC North is on the docket this year. Stay tuned, and you'll learn more in the coming months. But I will say this truly alternate uniform will celebrate our owners and emphasize our uniqueness. All right, so another clue. Put on your detective hats here. What the heck do you think these things are going to look like? Because that insinuates something about fans being the owners. That's what it sounds like. So what the heck is this thing going to look like now? Because at first I thought it was helmet, cheesehead sort of thing. But now, celebrate our owners and emphasize our uniqueness. You can't have a photo of every single owner on your helmet or jersey or anything like that. So what the heck? Let's have a little fun, all right? Give me some predictions, all right? And I'm going to keep them because if somebody gets this right or gets pretty darn close, I'm going to have to reward you or something with that. So, but we'll talk some football and such a little bit later on here. It is a VFW Post 305 best and worst of the weekend. So give your best and worst on the weekend. That's simple. Hit me up with a text on that Shoe Doctors bullpen line, 715-830-1912, or hit us up on the Section 105 chat with your best and worst from the weekend. We'll do some local sports roundup brought to you by our good friends from Carpet City Flooring Center, Justice Cleveland, WEAU 13 News will be joining us in the 9 o'clock hour, so we'll do our local sports roundup with him. Also, it is a Glory Days Monday, brought to you by Summer Jam in Eau Claire. So we'll hit that up in the 9 o'clock hour as well. So as you can tell, we have a loaded game plan for us on this Monday morning. Let's get things rocking and a-rolling, shall we? We'll take our first break and then the leadoff. Let's give a little love to the Brew Crew, continuing their awesome start to the season. 7-2. 7-2. What has really stood out to you so far about this Brew Crew team? I'll tell you one thing that's really kind of stood out to me here, but I'll save it for coming up here after our first break. But I want to give you a chance here too. So I know it's still early. It's just 9 games into a 162-game season. But come on. It's baseball. It's a long season. We got to celebrate or, be happy when we do go on these runs because there's probably going to be a couple times throughout the season where they're going to be on some slow starts or even a little bit of slumps. We're like, what the heck is wrong with this team? So right now, let's give them a big old tip of the cap. It's fun to watch the Brewers, right? Let's take our first break, and then coming up, we'll talk some Brew Crew baseball to get us going on this Monday morning. We'll be right back after these quick words. Baseball is back, and that means one thing. It's brat season, baby. Swing on into Mike's Star Market and stock up for game day the right way. From fresh and wide variety of flavorful brats to, well, I mean, they've got everything that you need to fire up the grill and feed the whole crew. So whether you're tailgating or maybe doing a little backyard grilling or you're just catching the game at home, nothing says baseball like brats on the grill. Make every pitch, every inning, and every bite count. It's Mike's Star Market in Eau Claire, your home for brat season, baseball season. And that's where we lead things off here this morning, talking some Brew Crew baseball as the Crew off to continue their awesome starts this season, picking up another series win, taking 2 out of 3 against the Kansas City Royals this past weekend. Go back to their first game and their doubleheader from Saturday. The Brew Crew picking up a what are we doing here? There we go, 5-2 victory for the Crew. Chad Patrick picking up his first win of the season. He went 5 strong innings, giving up just 4 hits, no earned runs, striking out 3. Did issue 3 walks, but you look at the 2 starts so far from Chad Patrick this year. In his first one going up against the White Sox, he went 4 1/3, giving up 5 hits, 1 earned run, striking out 4, and then follows that up by picking up his first win, going 5 innings, 4 hits, no earned runs, striking out 3. Aaron Ashby came in, gave up a couple earned runs, his hometown and such, but that was it. After that, in terms of runs, Uribe getting his second hole of the season. Trevor McGill picking up the second save of his season. But it was the Garrett Mitchell game in game 1 of that doubleheader on Saturday. All runs produced by Garrett Mitchell. In 4 at-bats, he collected a couple of hits and 5 RBIs. And when we look at Garrett Mitchell so far this season, all right, again, I get it. It's a smaller sample size, and I'll probably always say this until maybe Memorial Day and such. But in his season so far, he has 11 RBIs. He is hitting .318. He's got an on base of a .423 and an OPS of a 1.014. We have talked about Garrett Mitchell for the last couple of years. Go back to last year, and Garrett Mitchell was like, okay, is this the guy that's going to help, fill the void left by Willie Adames? Is he going to be the power guy? Such as that where that offense is going to come? Gets hurt, misses a huge, practically the whole season. All right, this year, can you just stay healthy? Because the last few years, the beginning of his career, he hasn't just been able to stay healthy. So what's the expectation? What are we going to see from this guy, right? That was the big question mark because we saw glimpses of it towards the end of the 2024 season. And so far, guy is off to a fantastic start. Really big start. And he has come up with some clutch hits a few times already for this Brewers squad. But it was that first game of that doubleheader. Let's just call it the Garrett Mitchell game, shall we? So Yelich also collected a couple hits in that game, and we're going to get to Christian Yelich here in just a skosh. But then game 2, Brewers falling 8-2. The Royals jumped out to a 2-0 lead. Brewers able, of course, to tie it up because this is the team that isn't deterred by, starting off in a hole or such. But it was that 6th inning where the Royals were able to put up 6 runs. So Logan Henderson got the starts because it was a doubleheader, able to add an extra guy. Logan Henderson got the start. And he pitched 2 innings, gave up 2 earned runs and such. And then Brandon Sproat, who struggled at his major league debut, was the piggyback guy, getting the bulk of the work. Well, he started off fine, but then that 6th inning, that's when everything kind of started to fall off. He ended up gets charged with a loss, goes 3 2/3, 4 hits, 4 earned runs, 3 walks, 4 strikeouts. So you look at Brandon Sproat's start to his Brewers career. go back to his game against the White Sox. No decision, but he gave up 7 earned runs. 3 innings, 7 earned runs, 4 walks, 3 strikeouts. Follows it up in his Kansas City game, going 3 2/3, 4 hits, 4 earned runs, 3 walks, 4 strikeouts. Issues with walks and obviously giving up some earned runs. If there is one thing to maybe kind of look at this start to this Brewers season where you kind of scratch your head or maybe looking at a negative or looking at something that's not that great, it's probably the start for Brandon Sproat. Now, is it possible they may send him down and maybe keep Logan Henderson up or Robert Gasser gets called up and such? But then, you're kind of, it's a possibility. I don't know if they would want to add another lefty to the rotation and such, but something to maybe monitor here. Now, they're not ready to give up a Brad Sproat. Brad Sproat, he's got talent. There's talent there. There's no question there's talent there. It's just he's off to a little bit of a sluggish start to begin his Brewers career. Not ready to close the door on him. I really hope there's no Brewers fans saying, well, that was a bust of a move. We're not there yet. Okay? Way, way, way too early in that process. And then yesterday's game. In the series finale, the rubber match, right? The Brew Crew. So they jump out to an early lead. And it was just it was one of those games. They go out to a 3-0 lead. Yelly hits the triple. Gary Sanchez hits another home run. It just felt like they could never really pull away because what did the Royals do? Well, they had a couple in the third. The Brewers had another run in the fourth. They had 2 on in the seventh. But what happens in the bottom frame of the seventh? The Royals add 3. Just never really able to pull it away until the Brewers able to add a couple runs in the ninth, and then Trevor McGill picks up his 3rd save and locks it down in the bottom of the ninth. But Contreras, couple hits, couple walks, couple RBIs. We mentioned Yelich with the triple, couple hits for him in that game. But Harrison, another one of the younger pitchers to join the crew this year. I thought he looked good again. You go back to his first game against Tampa Bay, he went 5 innings, giving up just 4 hits, 1 earned run, 1 walk, 6 strikeouts. He followed it up by getting his first win of the season, going 5 1/3, just 3 hits, 2 earned runs, 2 walks, 6 Ks. So while Brandon Sproat has been off to a sluggish start to his Brewers tenure, can't really say that about Kyle Harrison. I think Kyle Harrison was my pick for when Brandon and I did kind of our Brewers preseason picks. Kyle Harrison was my guy. Was my pick where I'm like, oh, this is the guy that I think is going to be kind of the nice surprise or really kind of shine or break out, if you will. And we had seen glimpses of this in spring training and such. Guy throws some nasty stuff and he works quick too, which I kind of like. But I thought he was solid. Solid again yesterday. So, biggest thing is Brewers picking up 2 out of 3. And how about the gun out from the new guy in right field, Bobby Wood Jr. from yesterday's game too. Woo. That was a nice play. But what has kind of maybe really stood out to you so far in this first 9-game stretch? Or not game stretch, first 9 games of the season. To me, right now is, you look at the Brewers numbers, and I know Buster Olney this morning, he posted his, 5 things. All right. The 5, he calls it. And one of them on there was the Brewers at an MLB best plus 28 in run differential. Yelich hitting .353. And I agree, but I think to add to it, it's just the Brewers' success going up against left-handed pitching so far this year too. When you factor in that Jackson Chirio's not in the lineup, Andrew Vaughn's not in the lineup. 2 right-handed bats, and that was something we have talked about. Was, okay, the Brewers have a lot of left-handed bats. Do they need more right-handed guys now with Cheerio and Vaughn? Like, how are they going to be able to go up against left-handed pitchers when they are a very left-handed hitting, heavy lineup? And you give credit to guys like Terang and to Yelich and to those guys for, beginning their seasons off on a very, very, very solid start. This is what we want to see from Christian Yelich, who's your DH and you're getting in the middle of the lineup, right? This is the start that you want to see from him so far. Hitting .353. And then your other lefty, who's your leadoff hitter so far, .303. Bryce Terang's OPS is 1.001. Yelich is 918. I mean, these guys are off to fantastic starts. And then you go back to Garrett Mitchell, a guy we talked about already too. 318 with a 1.014 OPS. That's another lefty bat. It's what these guys are doing against left-handed pitching. Really, to me, has been kind of a really good surprise so far. I mean, heck, Brandon Lockridge, for crying out loud, and I get it. He's got 23 ABs, so it's not like he just has a few at-bats, but this was a guy in spring training where essentially he beat out Blake Perkins because of what he was doing from an offensive standpoint. And right now, all he's doing is hitting .348 with an .814 OPS. So it's offense that has really stood out, especially when you factor in Jackson Cheerio hasn't played and Andrew Vaughn has just played 1 game. And what this lineup has been doing, a very left-handed heavy lineup, and what they have been doing against left-handed pitchers. That, to me, has been one thing that has really, really stood out. So I mentioned, Brandon Sproat. If you want to look at something that's maybe been a little bit down, I guess if you want to look at something that's been negative to begin the season, you can kind of look at his start. There is something else that maybe we should pay a little attention to. I got to take a quick break, and I'll bring that up. Give it up after these quick words. As the fields come back to life, it's time for spring sports here in the Chippewa Valley. Whether you're stepping up to the plate, hitting the track, or getting back on the field, make sure that your body is ready to perform. At Chippewa Valley Orthopedics and Sports Medicine, their team specializes in keeping athletes of all ages healthy, strong, and in the game. From injury prevention to expert care and recovery, they've got you covered every step of the season. Don't let pain keep you on the sidelines. Get back in the game with confidence. Chippewa Valley Orthopedics and Sports Medicine, helping you move better, play stronger, and staying in the game. I got to admit, I'm back to getting nervous about Joey Ortiz at the plate, you guys. He was off to a good start this season and such, but I'm starting to get a little bit more nervous now with Joey Ortiz up at the plate. Now, you look at his ABs, okay? So far this season, he's hitting 269, which obviously is higher than what it was last year. It's higher than his career average and such. But kind of looking at the trend here. So the last two games against the Royals here. Just one hit and 8 at-bats, 4 strikeouts, no walks. And there were times again, runners in scoring position, an opportunity to manufacture some runs. And just some poor ABs, poor at-bats. And starting to get a little bit more nervous about Joey Ortiz coming up to the plate. And now, I mean, you throw in the Cooper Pratt stuff. I think the watch is on now, too. And the thing is like Cooper Pratt, if there was one thing that he could get better at, that he could improve at, it's his bat, right? But the Brewers this past weekend made the signing of Cooper Pratt official. And they also moved him to the 40-man roster. So it's a step towards maybe seeing the kid make his major league debut. Matt Arnold with some of the comments now that the deal has been official. He said, there have been so many people that from our perspective have had nothing but positive things to say about Cooper throughout his tenure as a Brewer and even before he was a Brewer. So all of the arrows pointed in the right direction for us to commit to something like this. We're super excited to be able to do this. Super excited. Oh, this is actually from Cooper Pratt, excuse me. Getting my quotes mixed up here. We're super excited to be able to do this with the Brewers and to be able to hopefully be a longtime Brewer. He also kind of talked about, a decision he had to make for himself about, does he sign this deal? Does he wait it out and such? Does he take the security now? It is something that he thought about for a while, and ultimately he decided to take the security part of the deal here. And Arnold went on to say, I think that we believe in the bat. We believe in the glove, certainly. And again, this is a guy who is really toolsy. He's very athletic. He's a big physical kid. So we think there's a chance to grow into some power, and he can really run. So when we have that kind of athletic foundation, it's a really good thing. Now, the interesting part in this whole thing is who Cooper Pratt's agent is. It's Scott Boras. Okay? Now, Scott Boras clients, we know a lot of what it's like. Okay, if you are a top baseball player, Scott Boras is more than likely your agents and looking always for the best deal and such. So to see a prospect sign an extension like this kind of like raise some eyebrows. Like, oh, that's interesting a little bit that Scott Boras would be all about this. Because obviously, they want to, maybe he wants his players to hit free agency and, get as much cash as possible. But Boris saying that's one of the biggest reasons why I kind of decided to do this. Or Pratt said too, I could just play and not have to worry about other stuff, all of the transactional stuff, and just play. When I do get called up to the show, I could just be ready to play in the show and not worry about other things. Boris went on to say for Cooper, how and why he played had a lot to do with the decision, what it meant for him to move ahead and to advance to the big leagues in his mind quicker, what it meant for him to approach the game in a way that allowed him to develop appropriately. He also talked about the stability Boris did for Cooper Pratt, saying, we want to optimize Cooper. And I felt better. I felt after listening to him and his family that this was a deal that will allow him to be his best. And if we make Cooper his best, contractually, the risk on the backside of this will allow us optimization in the next contract. The risk of 7 or 8 years of play before free agency happens is immense, but I also know that the height of his performance after listening to Cooper will be enhanced because he made this decision. And Cooper said, I feel in my heart that I made a good decision. So you add in Joey Ortiz. Joey Ortiz knows that Cooper Pratt is going to be the starting shortstop at some point. And maybe Joey Ortiz pressing a little bit at the plate, possibly. I mean, Joey Ortiz is not the long-term guy. He's not. He is not the long-term guy at this spot. And right now, you look at his offensive play, his last 3 games, he has collected 2 hits. He has not walked a single time, and he has struck out 4 times. He is hitting 167 in his last 3 games. It's the same number for his on base, the same number for his slugging. Not even a sack, not even a sacrifice. Nothing. And this is when he started off his first 4 games, where he was 357 and on base of a 438. He has already struck out the same amount of times in fewer games than how he the first 5 games of the season. He struck out 4 times. He's already struck out 4 times in 3 games. Something to maybe kind of keep an eye on here as we go forward. But all right, we got to take a quick break. Let's take a look at tonight's game 1 against the Boston Red Sox. Brandon Woodruff. He's going to be back on the mound for game number 2. Game number 2. All right, we got a really good matchup tomorrow with Mizorowski and Garrett Groshette, but we'll get to that tomorrow. Let's talk a little Brandon Woodruff in game 2 and his second start of the season in game 1 between the Brew Crew and the Red Sox. Coming up after these quick words. Stock it up for spring. Well, hey, Hy-Vee has everything you need to fill your pantry, pack up the freezer, or get ready for maybe having some meals outside. Just need some consistently warm, nice weather out there. From fresh cuts of meat and easy grill-ready favorites to frozen essentials, snacks, and quick weeknight dinners, especially spring sports season. Maybe going to be, a little bit on the run and such. Hy-Vee makes it simple to be prepared for whatever the season brings. Are you planning a backyard cookout? Hey, they've got the buns, the sides, and the flavors to make it easy. So stop on in today, stock up, and save time, and enjoy more moments around the table or the grill. Hy-Vee in Eau Claire, where there is a helpful smile in every aisle. All right, so we've got game one between the Crew and the Red Sox coming your way tonight. And we get Brandon Woodruff with his second start. Going up against, obviously, it's an American League and National League team. Not a ton of experience, but we got a little bit here. I mean, obviously, William Contreras, William Contreras' brother Wilson is now with the Red Sox, and long time, obviously, with the Cardinals and such. So he's got 19 career at-bats against Brandon Woodruff, but not very successful, just hitting a 105 against him with a 451 OPS. On the flip side, with Bello going for the Red Sox, you got Bowers, who has 9 career at-bats against him. He's hitting 222 with a 973 OPS. Yelly has 7 career at-bats, 286, 715. Renifo has 6 career at-bats, over, but he does have an RBI against him and such too. So, and then everybody else has like 1 or 2 at-bats against him and such. So, but Brandon Woodruff making his second start on the season. Picked up a win in his first outing where he went, 5 innings against Tampa Bay, 4 hits, 2 earned runs, no walks, 6 Ks. I think now, what we want to see from Brandon Woodruff, again, kind of what we talked about before his season debut, just the model of consistency. You know what you're going to get from Brandon Woodruff more times than not. When it's his turn to the rotation, you're feeling confident in what you're going to see. You're feeling confident in knowing what type of performance you're going to get from Brandon Woodruff. And it's just going to be up to the offense. Like, hey, we know what Woody's going to do on the mound. We know what he's going to give us. We know the performance he's going to have. What can we as an offense now do to help him out? With him making starts, I think it just gives you that confidence from the offensive side of things that this group or this team, they know what to do. They know what to expect with Woodruff on the mound. Can they just give him the support now, that run support, to help pick up another win? So I'm excited to see Brandon Woodruff back on the mound. He had a solid start back on the 31st against Tampa Bay. Can he give them the same thing? Not issuing any free walks. Strikeout numbers are solid. And you're going up against a Boston Red Sox team that came into the season with a lot of expectations. And they've been off to a very, very, very slow start to begin the year. Just winning 2 games so far. So you don't want to be, the Brewers don't want to be the team that maybe gets Boston right, gets them on a little bit of a momentum swing. And they've got, a couple former Brewers over there too. And Boston may not want to do any more trades with Milwaukee too, because Caleb Durbin right now in 28 at-bats, he just has 2 hits. He's hitting 0.71 with a 133 on base and a 204 OPS. Andrew Monasterio, just 7 at-bats, 143. I mean, it's been back-to-back series now going up against former Brewers, whereas Isaac Collins, right? Isaac Collins with the Royals. You had Nick Mears pitching against them too. So Brewers going to be going up against a couple of friendly faces that were a part of the squad from last year or the last couple of years and such. And Caleb Durbin and Isaac Collins too, obviously, big parts and such. So don't let them, change their seasons around, right? Let's get another series win here. Brewers have been really good in interleague play the last few years. I saw this crazy number yesterday, but it's just like they have been like the best National League team going up against American League teams in interleague play for whatever reason. They have just been awesome. Let's keep that trend going. All right. Let's keep it going. Let's keep the momentum going, baby. Let's pick up another win. Get off to a fast start. What has impressed you the most so far with this Milwaukee Brewers start to their regular season? All right. Let me know. Hit me up with some of your thoughts on that Shoe Doctors bullpen line or on the Section 105 chat on the video stream. Shot clock's going to cut me off here. So coming up next hour, let's talk some hoops. We've got National Championship night tonight. Give me your picks between Michigan and UConn. Also, Bucks drama as we start to wrap up the regular season this week. More stuff coming out about Giannis and the Bucks and the relationship between the two. If you were holding out hope that maybe a long-term relationship can continue, I don't know anymore. We'll hit that up coming up in the next hour. One in. We got 3 more to go, though. We'll be right back after these news updates. Second quarter, second hour, kick it off right now on this Monday morning, April 6th. Thanks for hanging out with us and making us a part of your start to a brand new work week here. First hour, we talked all Brewers, talked all baseball here. As the Brewers picking up another series win to begin their season 7-2. They'll be back at it tonight, taking on the Boston Red Sox in Boston. So we'll get back to more Brewers talk throughout this program. We've got Justice Cleveland joining us in about 2 hours. In the 9 o'clock hour, we'll do some local sports roundup with him, brought to you by Carpet City Flooring Center in Eau Claire. We got that. Also, send me your best and worst from the weekend. Your VFW Post 305 best and worst from the weekend. We'll do a little Glory Days segment also coming up in the 9 o'clock hour, brought to you by Summer Jam in Eau Claire. We'll talk some football a little bit later on as we get set, we continue, our Packers prospects series. Potential options there for Green Bay when it comes to their day 2 picks, round 2 and 3. So highlight a few players that could potentially be targets for Green Bay and such. So we got that. Taking your picks. Who you got tonight for the national championship between Michigan and UConn? Who you rolling with, baby? All right. UConn taking down Illinois on Saturday. Michigan taking down Arizona to advance. I need UConn to win tonight. I didn't pick UConn to win it. I picked Arizona to win it all, but I need UConn to win tonight to win the Sports Talk Bracket Challenge. Because if Michigan wins, then I think I fall short. So, but we'll see how it all plays out. I'm not feeling great about that because Michigan has just kind of been, on a tear. They've been playing some really, really good basketball. But, all right, so we'll continue. We'll get to more of your picks, but hit me up with the text, 715-830-1912. Or you can join in on the Section 105 chat room on the video stream. So I want to kick off this hour talking some hoops, but NBA, as we start to wrap up the regular season this week. We know the Bucks are not going to be in the postseason. Breaking news, right? In case you've been kind of hiding under a rock or anything like that, the Bucks are not going to be making the postseason, which means the talk will shift. It has started to shift towards what is the future of one Giannis Antetokounmpo. All right. Now, we know there's an NBA investigation going on about whether the Bucks have been holding him out or sitting him when he's healthy enough to play. Giannis has been vocal that he wants to play, while the Bucks have been saying he's not healthy enough. So there's been a little bit of investigation going on. But there's more now. And Lori Nickel from the Milwaukee Journal-Sentinel. I mean, she, over the years, has been kind of a nice inside source, if you will, has been able to get a lot of good stuff from the Greek Freak himself, from Giannis. And there was a couple of articles in the last couple of days that have been published, that have been posted out there. And kind of gives us a little bit of a peek behind the curtain regarding the Greek Freak, regarding Giannis. Let's start off with this one, where he acknowledged, remember a few weeks ago, there was that article from ESPN about Wes Edens saying that Giannis will either be extended or he will be traded. That Wes Edens told ESPN on March 20th. He said, the likelihood you'll let him just kind of play out the last year, we can't afford that. It's not consistent with what's good for the organization. That's not a Giannis issue. That's any player that's in their last year. Giannis wasn't really happy with that comment, apparently, saying, quote, "For me, it's like a slap in my face." When he was asked about his interaction with his bosses throughout this season, there hasn't been many. And I feel like when a player and kind of like the owners or the higher ups don't really interact a whole lot, it almost feels like is the writing on the wall. And Giannis said he had he can remember one conversation during this season with Wes Edens, which was via Zoom. And he said he had two conversations with Jimmy Haslam, one via Zoom with Edens, and the other time was around a game. And he said he's had just casual hellos with Josh Glessing, the abruptly and newly appointed Bucks president. Which, yeah. And as Lori Nichols says, the point, Giannis is the face of the franchise and majority record holder, and he had to find out this sign early or be traded stance from ownership through the media and not from Wes Edens himself. Giannis says it says a lot. Now, Lori goes on to say he wasn't angry, he wasn't accusing, but he was straightforward in answering questions. Giannis wondered, for example, if the Nuggets ownership group ever would make a statement like that about the Joker, Jokic, or Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. Giannis couldn't come to any reckoning why he, a two-time MVP and a one-time NBA Finals MVP, would receive such a statement. Quote, especially as somebody that has been this loyal, and I've showed appreciation to the team, to the community, to the fans, to everybody that I worked with, and that's almost like a slap in my face. He started with another example, the piece goes on to say, and then paused, questioning whether he should continue before continuing, clearly trying to respectfully communicate his stance on things. Let's just give it an example of what I'm trying to say. A father of 4, he will tell his children that they have to brush their teeth, take a nap, and be polite to their mom in order to come to the gym with him. But he tries to keep deals like this rare. I don't even talk to my kids like this. And I'm not a kid, okay? I'm a grown man. And if that was the case, you should have come to me and addressed it directly. Giannis said that the Bucks organization has asked him to address trade rumors, and he reminds us that he has done that. First in the beginning of the season, after an early practice, and again in February. I'm here. I'm committed to the team. And I'm committed to Milwaukee because I love this city. His wish is this. To the organization, the conversations that I have between me, myself, and my bosses, it's private. It should not be in the media. If they're willing, they want to share it to the media, they could go ahead and do that. I'm here. I'm committed. I'm wearing the jersey. And it is disrespectful to my teammates, to my coaching staff, to the people that I go and sweat with and go to war with to say, I don't want to be here. And I will never do that. Now, what goes on in private rooms, it's not my job. It's not my responsibility. And it should not, in no shape or form, be shared in public. I believe in etiquette. I believe in human etiquette. I believe in basketball etiquette. So with my owners, I have addressed what I feel and what I believe the situation is. Same with my GM, same with my coaches. And for me, that Wes Edens comment was a slap in the face. But it's my boss, so I just got to keep on moving forward. And here's a really, really good point. And Lori is a fantastic reporter and writer. And she puts this in there. Why would Giannis speak highly of his team, but want to keep private conversations private? Some NBA analysts and observers thought Milwaukee didn't adequately prepare for the post-Brook Lopez, Chris Middleton, Drew Holiday, and Dame Lillard era. Even though the Bucks said all the right things at the beginning of the season, touting its roster with Miles Turner and lots of other names, including former two-way players, it didn't convince every pundit. And maybe Giannis was concerned too. He didn't say he was in this interview, so this is speculative. If he was concerned, he would have expressed that only in-house. Otherwise, why damage the relationship he has with teammates and coaches? But this is a fact. By the time the Bucks lost on New Year's Eve to the Washington Wizards, it was blatantly obvious that the team had more shortcomings than bright spots. And this isn't the only thing to kind of pop up. A little bit later on this piece, they talked about Giannis' contract extension is the only leverage he has if he wants to push Bucks leadership and culture towards excellence and make it clear that while he's given this team his prime years, he intends to continue to give the best of what he has going forward. He's not the type to demand a trade. These contract talks are his only leverage. 100%, Giannis said. He started to elaborate and again checked himself. He was trying to be thoughtful of what he wants to say and what he wanted to keep it private. Coincidentally, he was talking in a Fiserv Forum hallway, and a Bucks employee was instructed to stand behind Giannis to listen in on the interview. I'm not the guy that will ever say I don't appreciate the people that hired me and the people that gave me my contracts. They changed my life. They changed my family's life. They gave my kids better education than what I had. They gave my wife freedom to be able to help the community that she loves and the Fresno community that she's from. She raised 15 million diapers, so we never, ever disrespect. That would not make me human. It will make me one of them, part of the business. I don't want to be a part of the business. He did say, though, that his loyalty could be taken advantage of. He said, could they downplay my contract? 1,000%. Yeah, he's a Buck for life. Yeah, whatever. I totally agree with you. That's my one leverage. But again, I have declared that I am a Buck many times. And I've said most important thing, which I believe in, and I would say again. He was asked a few more direct questions. Who does he feel comfortable with talking to the front office? Not just about contracts, but the team or basketball or performance or anything and everything related to the Bucks. This is a killer. He said, quote, nobody. I don't feel comfortable talking to nobody. Most pro teams have an open door policy. Constant communication seems like a requirement in managing driven and competitive people. Giannis said he does talk to John Horst some, but less than before. I tried this whole year to stay to myself and also this past summer. I was more closed off to myself. I don't know if that's because I don't feel comfortable opening up enough or if it's just I don't want to open up at this point. It's definitely not like before. All right, so that's a lot. And let's be real, it doesn't paint the greatest picture between Giannis and his relationship with the Bucks brass, with the ownership group. It doesn't. Let's call a spade a spade. It doesn't sound good. And for anybody like myself who was holding out for some hope that, okay, maybe there's still an opportunity for Giannis to sign a long-term deal and remain a Buck for life, it doesn't. The odds to me, just reading some of those quotes and very open and honest quotes from Giannis, it took a major hit. It took a major hit. Now, that's not the only thing Giannis had to say. There's more. And he admitted to something. that really affected his play this year. We'll tell you what he had to say more in this really great interview with Laurie Nickel. We got to take a quick break, but more Giannis talking. And let me throw this back at you. Some of the quotes that I just read off to you. Do you feel like deep in your soul, deep in your gut that, man, I was holding out hope. I don't got much hope anymore. What's going through your mind when you hear that stuff? Let me know. All right. We got to take a quick break. Plenty more to get to, though, coming up after these quick words. Spring is here in Eau Claire, and that means it's the perfect time to freshen up your home. At Carpet City Flooring Center, now is the season to take a look at what's under your feet and imagine what it could be. From soft, comfortable carpet that makes any room feel cozier to luxury vinyl planks and tile built for busy homes. There's something for every space, every budget, and every lifestyle. Maybe it's one room that needs a refresh, or maybe it's time for a full home update. Either way, their team is there to help you guide you through it all and choosing the right style to professional, from choosing the right style to professional installation that you can count on. Because spring isn't just about cleaning out the old, it's about bringing in something better, a brighter space, a cleaner look, a home that feels new again. So if you're ready to upgrade this season, stop on in and see what's possible. Carpet City Flooring Center in Eau Claire, where your next project starts from the floor on up. Continuing to talk a little Giannis and a little Milwaukee Bucks. Just, again, a fantastic couple pieces here from Lori Nickel from the Milwaukee Journal-Sentinel. If you haven't checked it out, go ahead and do so. So the other portion of this, or the other piece, if you will, Giannis does admit that this season there was something that was going on that affected his play this year. And he struggled. He admitted he struggled with the separation from his family. Now, we know Giannis is a big family. Like, family is numero uno to Giannis, as it should be for anybody. Family is number one. But he admitted the first he talked about when he talked about the difficult season full of stress and disappointment. He said, quote, "I've never had this season in my career. It was tough for a lot of reasons. The first reason," he said, was because he forced himself to separate from his family for an extended period of time. He began the season with his wife and his kids back in Greece. Now, if you remember, we kind of rewind it here a little bit. There was this big old media storm that Giannis moved his family to Greece. What does it mean? He's moving them out of Milwaukee. What does it mean? That sort of stuff and that. And essentially it was because of the talk that was going out there about trades and such. But it affected him on the court. He said, quote, "This was my first time in my career being away from my family. I was here and my family wasn't. My body was in the game, but my mind was not. And I think that affected me in a way because when your mind is not fully locked into what you love to do," and then he paused because apparently his brothers, came over and he said hi to them and such. But he began the season, he said, in top form and said after played for Greece in Eurobasket, that his confidence was the highest it has ever been. But he also admitted he felt a big burden to carry the team. The Bucks had a highly functioning offense with him in the lineup and a bottom-of-the-barrel offense when he wasn't. And he said, he talked about his wife, his children, his brothers, his mom are the driving force behind almost everything he does in life. As a basketball player, as a provider, and as a family leader. He said, I didn't know how the season was going to unfold. There were a lot of rumors about me. There was a lot of uncertainty about me from both sides. So, between him and his wife, and they decided with their 4 young children to remain in Greece, their off-season home, long after the summer months ended to avoid the drama. Their absence was noticed around the Forum, where the family usually is a major part of Bucks game days. The boys like to help Dad with his pregame warm-up shots. His wife is a supportive spouse and an attentive mom. The Bucks staff and employees all pitch in to keep an eye on the kids who frequent the locker room. But for weeks, Giannis was alone without them. Quote, "I didn't know how this is going to be. And one thing that I always said is that as a father, I would never put my kids in a position where my profession would hurt them and their lifestyle. I have an amazing wife that comes out with these incredible plans. I thought it was smarter for us as a family to stay in Greece." Now, around Thanksgiving and such, they did return to Milwaukee. And as Lori notes in this. Why should Bucks fans care about this? Why does this matter? As she noted, Giannis revealed in 2023 that he almost quit basketball during the 2020 season when one of the struggles he faced was playing in Orlando in that NBA bubble during the COVID-19 pandemic. He made it clear to the Bucks that he needed to be around his family. But he's also protective of his kids. He got angry when a media outlet reported too many details on his Greek residency and included information about the school location and the schedule of his kids. Giannis wrote an angry Instagram post in Greek arguing for his privacy. They didn't do it one time. They did it multiple times. No, no, no. You talk about me. I'm the public figure, not my kids. Now, they don't have a security family. He doesn't, or security team, and he doesn't want one, he says. He said, I don't want security. I want to have a normal life. That's one of the reasons I love Milwaukee, because it gives me that. It gives my family that. And we've got this thing going on right now, this investigation about the Bucks' decision to shut him down for the season, but he wants to play. And now you got this NBA investigation going on because, the NBA wants their star players to play, right? This whole load management thing. As Lori notes, this might clear up any lingering confusion about why Giannis is struggling so much and is so angry about the Bucks' decision to shut him down for the season. After Giannis was injured again in mid-March, the Bucks decided he was done for the year. When asked who was responsible for the decision to shut him down, Doc Rivers or from higher up like John Horst, the general manager, Giannis said, I think it's both from what I've been communicated. I've had the conversation with Coach Doc, the possibility of shutting me down. I had the conversation with John also. Giannis has made it clear, though, he wants to play. He wants to play with his brother Alex. He had a chance to play with brothers Thanasis and Kostas in Eurobasket last summer, and he's missing the chance to play with Thanasis and Alex right now. Quote, saying, you know me, and maybe sometimes when you put this in the story, they won't believe, but you know me. You saw me. I grabbed my brother's jersey and the ball. I ran to the car. I was looking for my mom. He's talking about Alex, who just scored his first bucket. He had his first points last week on free throws, but he scored his first bucket. I ran to the car. I was looking for my mom, right? My mom was here. I told her to come back. I told my mom to stay so she could give Alex a hug. Do you think I don't want to play basketball with my little brother? This hurts me, he said, of the decision to hold him out. So, you add that on there. And it kind of throws out the question, okay, what if Alex wasn't playing? What if Alex wasn't out there? Would Giannis be this angry? Probably not. I think he'd still want to play, and I think he'd still want to push to play. But I think the fact that his younger brother, now Alex, who just made his NBA debut, he's out there on the same team as Giannis and playing. Throwing up alley-oops to Thanasis. Giannis wants to be a part of that. We know he is such a huge family guy, for crying out loud. The Bucks have added his brothers to the team because they know how much of a family man Giannis is. So, of course. I mean, think about it. It's kind of like the LeBron and Bronny thing. What did the Lakers do? They drafted Bronny to make LeBron happy. That's what it was. That's what it boiled down to. And yes, it would be cool. Let's put ourselves into the situation, whether you are a mom or you are a father or whatever, or you've got brothers or sisters. Would it be cool to play with your family? Heck yes. All right. Absolutely. You have a chance to do that? 100% you would do that. 100%. Would I love to play a game with like Hudson? I don't care if it'd be like a slow pitch softball game one of these days or whatever. But the fact that you could play a pro game with him, 100%. If I had a brother, and I had a chance to be on an NBA court with him, would I think that would be an awesome opportunity that I'd want to do that? Heck yeah. And when you factor in all this stuff about how much, and I think we all knew Giannis is such a big family guy, but to hear some of the stuff where he like thought about quitting because of the COVID bubble, I mean, this is a big deal to him. And it probably, we joke about, hey, Thanasis might not be on a roster for any other team or Alex and such. And we kind of like, all right, yeah, roll your eyes here a little bit. But now you kind of get a clear picture of how important family is to him. And we know about the sport of basketball and trying to make your superstars happy. I get it now. I get why the Bucks did this. It totally makes sense why you bring back Thanasis. It totally makes sense why you sign Alex to your herd and call him up and such. Everybody says money is a driving factor, and it probably is still more so than not. But for a family guy like Giannis, if that's what's going to make him happy too, and you're going the extra mile to do that sort of stuff, it may pay dividends. But is it enough to keep him around long term when we go back to some of the other stuff that we were just talking about? So on one hand, he loves Milwaukee because it gives him, what they've done for his family. And it gives him the privacy that he wants. But does that all outweigh some of the other issues now that he is going through with this franchise? Where's the balance? Which way does it lead? That's a tough one now. All right, we got to take another quick break. Back with plenty more coming up after these quick words. Road trip season is right around the corner. Are you and your vehicle ready to go the distance? Little field of dreams there. Before you hit the highway, make sure your vehicle is in top shape with the help from AJM Automotive. From oil changes and tire checks to brakes and engine work, their experienced team will make sure that you are ready for wherever the road takes you. And now with 2 convenient locations in Eau Claire, getting your vehicle serviced has never been easier. Plan the trip. AJM Automotive will handle the rest. Visit ajmautomotiveservices.com to schedule your appointment today. So I guess I kind of want to throw this out to you, Wisconsin sports fans, Bucks fans. As a fan, what, after all that stuff, after all of those quotes we just read off from the Greek Freak from Giannis, what do you want to see happen? What would you like to see happen now, this offseason? Do you hope there's maybe a little bit of a reconciliation, that Giannis signs a long-term thing? Or do you think it's to the point where, you know what, it might be best for both sides to part ways? Are we at that Aaron Rodgers, do I say level? Are we at that Aaron Rodgers points where I think, a lot of us, when he left, when they traded the Jets, I think a lot of us were just like, you know what? It's time. It's time for both sides to just go their separate ways. Or do you feel, do you hope, do you wish that there is some path, some way that both sides can sing a little kumbaya and let bygones be bygones, and they can work this out and Giannis finishes his career with the Bucks, or still plays at least a few more years here? I mean, the selfish fan in me, there's no question. There's no way I can't feel a different way, but the selfish fan in me wants Giannis to be a Buck. And I want him to stay a Buck. Because where it is a little bit different with the Rodgers thing is that, okay, there was a replacement. There was still some optimism and such. It's like, okay, there's a lot of other players that could, fill the. Giannis, the NBA, one player could dictate a whole lot and dictate a lot of success. That's where it's a little bit different. If this was another straight up football thing, and maybe it's like 10, 15 years, however long it is, and maybe we're having that same conversation, if I'm lucky enough to still be able to be doing this, if we're having that same conversation with Jordan Love, it's like, it's time. Football and basketball is a little bit different because basketball, one player can make the difference. We've seen that time and time and time again, right? So the selfish fan in me, I want Giannis to remain a Buck. I want Giannis to be a Buck for his whole career, okay? I'm of the, I was thinking about this, my age and such, thinking about my favorite teams, and I'm like, who's the one player, like great player, that during my lifetime, during, from my memory that I remember watching from the beginning to the end, that played with my favorite team from the beginning to the end. It wasn't Favre. Wasn't Rodgers. You look at Brewers players, the closest one right now is probably Ryan Braun. That's even debatable. Yes, Robin Yount is there, but I'm a little too young to remember from beginning to end. So I don't put him in mind. That would be different for everybody else, of course. Robin Yount would probably be the easy pick for a lot of people. But for my age, just a little too young for that yet, because I don't remember. Well, one, I wasn't around in 82, so there you go. But that easily would be. But I'm thinking about, like, for my age or even younger, it's Braun, and right now it's Giannis probably. So I was like, I want that great. I want that all-time great to just, because we talk about the the Tim Duncans and the Kobe's and the Steph Curry's, that fan base. Hey, they got to see their dude. They're number one. They're all-time great throughout the entire portion of their career. And obviously, I wasn't around with like Bart Starr and such. But that's part of me is like I just want Giannis to play his whole career. But I know that it's 2026 and that's more rare than plausible at this point in time. Do you think too that the Bucks have done more than enough to cater Giannis? Do you think they've done more than enough to do everything? Because we talk about, especially in the NBA or top players, hey, you got to, maybe bend over backwards a little bit. You got to cater to them a little bit. You got to do this. You got to do that to make them happy. You think they've done their fair share? They've kept Thanasis around. They brought in Alex. I mean, his brothers are playing for the team. Let's be real. They're probably not on an NBA roster for any other team, or at least a top-fledged team, right? I'm not trying to be mean. I'm not trying to be a jerk, but let's just be real. Roster sizes are incredibly limited. It's not like you can always stash a player, maybe what you can do in the NFL or in Major League Baseball in the minor league system. Thanasis has been on the roster, regular roster, for how many years? And I get it. He was a second-round pick by the Knicks years back. You got Alex. Just made his pro debut a couple of weeks ago and such. They've done all that. Right? I mean, they've done that. Do you think that's, what? Bucks have done a lot for that. Or do you think they should have done more? And if you think they should have done more, what are the areas that they should have done more to make Giannis healthy? You look at deals that were made, trades that were made. On one hand, you could say, well, they traded his best friend, Chris Middleton. That was a smart. Yeah, you're probably right. But they brought in Dame, guy that beforehand he was talking a lot about. Maybe they held on to guys too long to try to make him happy. I mean, there's examples on both sides, right? There's examples where, man, they didn't do some decisions to make him happy. But then there's other ones like, oh, yeah, that's clearly they did that just to make Giannis happy. Coaching decisions, right? So do you think they've done enough? Do you think they've done more enough? Do you think they did do enough? What side are you on? It's like all reports, he wanted Adrian Griffin. And then change of heart. All right, fire. Bringing in Doc Rivers. He was a part of the old breakfast meeting to hire Mike Budenholzer, too. Man, it's tough. It's tough. All right, we got to take our final break, and we'll wrap up the second hour and head into halftime here. Hoops-wise, who you rolling with tonight? You going to go with Michigan or UConn to be the national champions? Who you rolling with, baby? All right, get your picks in now. Hit me up with a text on that Shoe Doctor's bullpen line, 715-830-1912, or hit us up on the Section 105 chat. We'll take a quick break, and we'll wrap up the second hour coming up after these quick words. Hey, sometimes accidents happen, but getting your vehicle back to normal doesn't have to be stressful. At Superior Auto Body, they specialize in getting your vehicle looking right again after dents, dings, or collisions. And the best part, they handle the insurance process for you, working directly with your provider to make things simple and hassle-free. No runaround, no confusion, just quality work and a team that's got your back every step of the way. So get your vehicle back on the road with confidence. Superior Auto Body in Eau Claire, where the job gets done right. Superior Auto Body, our Backyard Dreams partners. And speaking of Backyard Dreams, registration is open for the Kasper Classic. Just head to 715store.com. They changed up our Sports Talk website here a little bit, so the link isn't up there. Hopefully it'll be up there soon. But right now, if you want to make sure you get your two-person team in for the 6th annual Kasper Classic, head on over to 715store.com. Those 3 tee times are available, 7:30, 10 a.m., and 1 p.m. And a big thanks to a boatload of teams that have already signed up. We have sold out of this thing every single year. So big thanks for everybody, off to a fantastic start so far. Again, I know it's not until August, but yeah, we've got a good start. We've got a good start. Who's going to win the title belts this year? We have not had a repeat winner at all. So we'll see if that continues to be the case. Coming up in a little over an hour from now, we'll catch up with Justice Cleveland, WEAU 13 News in Eau Claire. We'll do our local sports roundup brought to you by Carpet City Flooring Center with him. I know we got baseball, softball, soccer, track and field, golf, all that going on, tennis. So we'll get the latest and greatest from Justice Cleveland for our local sports roundup. Also coming up in the 9 o'clock hour, we'll do our Glory Days segments brought to you by Summer Jam in Eau Claire. Send me your VFW post at 305 best and worst from the weekend. We'll hit those up coming up in the next hour. Speaking of the next hour, too. But I want to talk some green and gold as we continue our Packers draft prospect countdown series. So obviously we know Green Bay doesn't have a first-round pick. Normally, we would take a look at some potential options with the first round, but we're taking a look at potential options for day 2. That's rounds 2 and 3. So we'll take a look at a few more. There's obviously a wider pool, a wider range of options there for Green Bay. So we'll continue to take a look at some potential names out there and do factor in what some of the experts are putting out there for their mock drafts and looking at some of those options and whether we like those as potential picks for Green Bay or not. So that'll be coming up in the next hour. Plus, Ed Policy speaks again and kind of says, all right, let's address this naming rights thing at Lambeau Field. Let's pump the brakes here a little bit, peeps. All right? So we'll go over what Ed Policy had to say, too. So continue to send me your picks. Are you going to go with Michigan or are you going to go with UConn for tonight's national championship? All right. Who you rolling with? Who you going to roll with? Send those on over via the Shoe Doctors bullpen line at 715-830-1912. Or you could join in on the Section 105 chats. Make your picks over there, too. So we'll talk a little college hoops as we get set for the men's Division I national championship. The women's, we had UCLA taking down UConn yesterday in the national championship. So UCLA grabbing their first in school history for the women's side of things. We know, obviously, John Wooden and the men's team have won quite a few and such. So, all right, shot clock's going to cut me off here. So it is halftime. We got some news updates, and we'll be right back after these quick words. Halftime is over with. We are on to the third quarter. Third quarter tips off right now. Appreciate you making us a part of your starts on this Monday morning, depending on where you're at, listening to us from. However you're listening to us, we appreciate it. Hopefully you had a fantastic Easter weekend and ready to hit up a brand new work week. Oh, man, we spent the first hour talking all Brewers. Brewers picking up another series win against the Royals. They've got Boston tonight. Brandon Woodruff's on the mound, first pitch, 5:45. You can catch it on the radio dials of 105.1 FM at 7:90 a.m. Pre-game coverage will begin 35 minutes prior. So we'll get back to more Brewers talk. Second hour, we talked all Bucks and Giannis and drama and such. More stuff starting to come out. Fantastic work done by Lori Nickel from the Milwaukee Journal-Sentinel. About Giannis and such, and kind of threw out the question, go through all this stuff. What would you as a fan, right? What would you as a fan like to see happen? And I think a lot of us are on the same page because quite a few of you have chimed in and kind of said the same thing. Selfishly, we want Giannis to stay. We want Giannis to finish his career as a Milwaukee Buck. But do we feel like it's going to happen? Do we feel like it's the best move and such? And that's kind of where everybody's like, it might be time to go on and sort of thing. And I think this is a good point. Going back to all those quotes from Giannis, and you could relook at them at the Milwaukee Journal-Sentinel. And he talked a lot about, obviously, values privacy, wants privacy for his family. Right? And that's why he said he loves Milwaukee because of that. And I think, Grayman Mike, you make a really good point here. Of course, I would love Giannis to end his career with the Bucks. What I do take away from all the quotes is that if he goes to a big market, his career will be over sooner than later. And Jordan... Was it Jordan on our video stream also said too, or was it somebody else? Because we get a lot going on there. I know Paul said Wisco peeps will be way more respectful than New Yorkers and such, but the other part, somebody else mentioned it, and I kind of lost it here, but we hear all the time from, national media and such that Giannis to New York, Giannis to the Lakers, Giannis to this place, and that place. And over the years, too, we have heard Giannis talk about how he, likes the privacy and such, likes to go around without having a security team, surrounding him, doesn't want his family to be bugged or bothered by media and such, and very critical of the media pointing out where his kids go to school in Greece and all that stuff. And I think, Grayman Mike, you make an interesting point. Let's say he goes to New York. Let's say he goes to the Lakers or Los Angeles. If family is truly, and I don't doubt it, is his number one thing, and he values privacy and that such, and if not having his family around for those first 2 months of the season affected him so much from a mindset. And he talked about how in 2020, being in the bubble in Orlando, not having his family around, where he thought about quitting. And he went to the Bucs saying, I need my family here. If that is such a huge, huge, huge thing for him, how is that going to all play out in a big market? You can't go to New York. You can't go to Los Angeles and say, give me my privacy. Yeah, no. That ain't going to happen. I'm sorry, it's not. You're going to go play in Madison Square Garden? You're going to go play somewhere on the West Coast? Media is going to be 500 times worse. We talked about that with Rodgers. Right? Going from a Green Bay, Wisconsin media landscape to New York landscape, media landscape. We had the front and back pages of everything every day. And how was that going to play out? It's an interesting thing because, we talk about Midwest nice, and I fully believe in that. And I think, a lot of, Wisconsin fans, we look at a lot of our athletes, whether they're Brewers or Bucks or Packers players, and we put them on this pedestal. Especially like, Green Bay, or if we got a great player, we put them on this pedestal. And they're probably more recognizable. Like if Giannis walked down the street, you probably know who he is. Green Bay, everybody knows Jordan Love. But if Jordan Love's walking down the street in New York, maybe not as many people know who he is or can recognize him right away. Giannis might be a little bit different because, come on, he's like 6'11" and such, and everybody who's that tall is already going to draw some interest. But, maybe a little bit more out there. But you might be able to hide in the crowd a little bit more with a bigger media market and such. And you stand out a little bit more in a Wisconsin sense. But I think in a Wisconsin sense, you get a little bit more respect. You get a little bit more breathing room, if you will. I feel like us in Wisconsin, we see somebody out to dinner, whether it's a coach or whether it's the pro athlete or such. It's like, hey, maybe if you make eye contact, you give them a little bit of a nod, a little bit of a tip of the cap, or a little bit of a wave. Maybe you take out your phone and you kind of sneak in a little picture and such. But, yeah, you don't really have a media corps maybe waiting outside the restaurant and snapping some pictures. So if that is a very important thing for Giannis, I think, he wants to win. He wants to win championships. But if he's got to choose between, let's just put this, let's say, all right, this is what it's going to boil down to. Does he want a better chance to win championships? Or does he want what's best for his family and his privacy and having his family around? What's more important to him at this stage in his career? Because right now, the Bucks may be in a better position to accommodate what he wants from a personal life standpoint and to his family standpoint compared to bigger markets. Now, I'm sure bigger markets will say, hey, bring your whole family. We're good. We'll accommodate them. But the extra attention, the bigger spotlights and such, and it's clearly evident he doesn't want that. He tried to, hide his family in a different country. So if Giannis has to decide between the two of like, what's my better chance to win a championship or what's best for my family and privacy, which one outweighs it? He might have to make that decision. And let's face it, that is a very, 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 very tough one. A very difficult one. All right. Who you got in tonight's national championship? It is split right now between UConn and Michigan. So keep your picks coming. You can text them out over at 715-830-1912 or hit us up on the Section 105 chat room. We'll take a quick break. And then what did Ed Policy have to say about his latest comments about naming rights? But also, I want to throw a little fun kind of conversation to this. He acknowledged that pretty soon the alternate uniforms are going to be announced, and he gave another clue. And I'm more confused on what potentially it could be. We'll tell you what he had to say. Plus, we'll get to our Packers positional countdown, or I should say positional, Packers draft prospect countdown series. We're going to take a look at actually a couple of corners today. So, guys that could be available in rounds 2 or 3 for the Pack. We'll take a quick break. We'll switch gears and talk a little football coming up after these quick words. Spring is here, and it's the perfect time for a fresh start and a new ride. Whether you are planning some road trips or tackling some weekend projects, or you're just ready for something new, now is the time to upgrade. At Toys and Ford, you will find a great selection of trucks, SUVs, and cars built to fit your lifestyle and your budget. Plus, their team is here to make your car buying experience easy and stress-free. This spring, drive something that you love. That's Toys and Ford. Your next adventure starts here. Switching gears here for just a little bit because we've got plenty more Brewers talk and still want to get your input on the whole Giannis situation as we start to wrap up this regular season this week for the Bucks. But Ed Policy in his latest Policies Perspective, where he answers some questions from fans and such. So, so as it's titled, let's address this stadium thing, naming rights, right? That has been a big topic of conversation and speculation and talk and such. So, let's go to what the question was. So again, he takes 5 questions from fans and such. So this was from Dan from Minneapolis. Dear Mr. Policy, having been a Packers fan since the 60s, I realize and appreciate the stewardship exercised over the time to maintain franchise viability in the eyes of the NFL in the eyes of the other NFL owners by continuously contributing to the NFL bottom line. Fans don't realize that ultimately NFL owners can pull the Packers charter if the franchise doesn't satisfactorily contribute to the league's financial performance. Can't be moved, but can be eliminated. If the naming rights to various parts of the complex can be sold on long-term contracts and those monies devoted to the corporate reserve fund and other growing operational expenses, then go for it. Hopefully, we're talking $25 to $40 million annually to the Packers. The best of luck as the league moves into its next phase of financial evolution. Thank you for getting ahead of the competitive challenges to the Packers that privately owned NFL teams' equity sales create for the only publicly owned franchise. Ed, or President Policy, responds by saying, thank you for the question. While much was made about my quote, it seemed like a few media outlets and social media posts may have taken it out of context. So, for clarity purposes, here's my full quote from the article. Quote, we're soon to be the only stadium without naming rights. That's not a threshold we're looking to cross anytime soon. But we might be a little bit more aggressive with some of the other entitlement inventory we just haven't taken advantage of in the past, including things like the training facility entitlements and Titletown campus. I went on to say, without current willingness to cross that threshold, we must look at other entitlement opportunities or revenues to keep up with the other NFL teams. I spoke to this at the annual meeting to shed additional light on the healthy paranoia we must have when looking at the economic landscape around the league. While player salaries are capped, every other expense involved in running a football team has increased over the last decade. I'm confident we have the strategic foresight, leadership, and vision to remain competitive for decades to come. But while we are in a strong financial position right now, we can never take that for granted and must always have an eye towards the future and adapt with the ever-changing landscape of the league. It won't be easy, but we are prepared for the challenge. And we kind of just recently saw that. The field at Titletown is now sponsored. And this is something we have talked about. The Don Hutson Center might have a sponsor. Other avenues might be sponsored. It is not the number one thing that they're looking to do for stadium rights sponsors, naming rights. But they're going to be looking at other stuff. We already saw one. Clark Hinkle Field might be sponsored. Ray Nitschke Field might be sponsored. They're going to look at that stuff first. But if it gets to a point where they have no other choice, that might be an option that they look at. But it sounds like, again, it is not in the near future. So everybody who is upset about that possibility, just take a deep breath. Okay, they ain't going to happen anytime soon. Just take a deep breath, okay? The other thing, and this is kind of where I want to have some fun, creative minds out there. He was asked about alternate jerseys. This is from Eric from Oshkosh. Said, hello, Mr. Policy. Can we please, that's 9 pleases, do an actual alternate uniform at some point? For decades, the answer has been that we just don't want to break with the historic tradition of the Packers. We get that. But it's not like anyone is asking to permanently change uniforms. I like a number of the throwbacks, but still don't understand why the Packers are so reluctant to try something new and creative during the season. Is the organization afraid that too many people might actually prefer the new look and pose a threat to the traditional one? President Policy responds, thanks, Eric. Yes, as I mentioned back in November, there is a true alternate uniform in the works. Last year, the NFL unveiled a new rivalries uniform for teams in the AFC East and the NFC West. The NFC North is on the docket this year. Stay tuned, and you will learn more in the coming months. But I will say this, truly alternate uniform will celebrate our owners and emphasize our uniqueness. It's another clue. We need to get our Robert Stack trench coats unsolved mysteries, get up out here and try to figure this thing out. What the heck are these things going to look like? Because, in his first comments back in November, it kind of painted the picture of like, okay, what's unique to Green Bay sort of thing. And I thought, okay, they own the cheesehead thing now. Could the helmets be cheesehead? And then it still could. But now you throw in saying that the alternate uniform will celebrate owners and emphasize uniqueness. So it's something about shareholders. It's something about owners. We know this. It's something about that. What the heck is this thing going to look like? It's not going to be like selfies or pictures of owners, because for as many as there are, they look like a little pixie dust, a little pixel on that helmet or that uniform, and that would just look ugly. I know they could get creative and it look like, I've seen those images or those pictures or those works of art where it's like all these different pictures and they form into one big thing. No, I don't want that. So what the heck is this thing going to look like? Is the helmet just going to have a big old picture of a stock certificate, a piece of paper on there? Or what is this thing going to look like? We got some clues here. The alternate uniform will celebrate our owners and emphasize our uniqueness. Emphasize our uniqueness. That's the key phrase there. What the heck? And that's about fans owning it. So what the heck is this thing going to look like? Anybody got any bright ideas? Anybody got any creative thoughts on what this thing could be using the clues at hand? What do you think this thing is going to look like? Because now my curiosity, usually I don't really give a whole rip about it. Now my curiosity is like, okay, here, what the heck is this thing about? Because I'm confused. I am really confused on this whole thing. Give me some fun, creative thoughts on this, all right? Okay, let's take a quick break, and then we're going to get to our Packers draft potential prospect series. We're going to take a look at a couple corners that could be there for a day 2 pick for the Packers. Second round, third round options. Quick break, and we'll be right back in just a couple minutes. With spring rolling into Eau Claire, it's time to get back outside and enjoy the season. And whether you're heading to the range or getting ready for a hunting season or just gearing up for some time in the great outdoors, Tilda Gun is your local shop for selection, service, and expertise. They offer a wide range of firearms and accessories along with a knowledgeable staff who can help you find exactly what fits your needs. No pressure, just straight answers and real guidance. It's about making sure that you're comfortable, confident, and ready for your next outing. Spring is the season to get prepared, to get organized, to get outside. And Tilda Gun is here to help you do just that. Stop on in and see why they've got or what they've got in stock and why so many in the Chippewa Valley trust them year after year. Tilda Gun, your hometown source for gear, service, and experience. All right, let's talk some potential Packers draft prospects on day 2, since we don't have a day 1 pick as of right now, and probably won't. But we are just a couple weeks away from the draft. It'll be 2 weeks from Thursday. The first round kicks off. So we're looking at day 2, so it'll be 2 weeks from this Friday and such. But, you know, obviously we've got a bigger pool of players to be looking at for potential day 2 picks here between rounds 2 and 3, whereas normally we'd be looking at potential first-round prospects. We got a wider sample size here. So part of where I'm the selection process, in case anybody's wondering, like, why are you selecting these players and such? Part of it is, I think, position of need that we all kind of agree on, which defensive line, defensive tackle, corner and such, offensive line. And then the other part is, I peruse around some of the mock drafts and see where, you know, the analysts, the pro analysts, the national media people are kind of mocking to Green Bay. And one of the players that was mocked to Green Bay comes from, that I'm going to bring up here, comes from Chad Reuter, who we've had on the program many times, actually, former UW-Eau Claire alum, draft analyst for NFL.com. And one player that he mocked to Green Bay is their second-round pick, number 52 overall. It's a defensive tackle from Oklahoma, Grayson Holton. So looking at his draft profile from NFL.com, he's listed at 6'3", about 293 pounds. His combine score, according to Next Gen Stats, he was the 6th-ranked defensive tackle under production score, under athleticism score, 9th, total score, 12th. Lance Zierlein's write-up, an undersized 3 technique with disruptive attributes. He's best suited for a rotational role in a movement-based front. He plays with synced hands and feet and good lateral agility. His initial quickness makes him quite slippery, but a centered block can clear him from the run lane due to his lack of mass and anchor. He's an energetic gap-to-gap rusher who could threaten guards on their edges or play his role as an effective twister. Finding the right scheme fit will be critical for Holton in the NFL. So, interesting choice. Now, if I'm looking at this as a pick, because I'm looking at some of his stats. Played all 13 games, 7 starts this past year with Oklahoma, 3.5 sacks, 7 TFLs. 2024, 5 sacks, 6 tackles for losses. He is more of the pass rushing type of defensive tackle, pass rushing defensive lineman. And so if we look at kind of that 3-4 base defense, he's probably that guy that, you know, the defensive ends in a 3-4, if you will. The defensive tackles, the outside defensive tackles in a 3-4. Not the Micah Parsons role, but the down, you know, trying to explain it for people who might not, you know, like, what do you mean, no? Not the nose tackle, not the guy in the middle, okay? So, because right now that seems to be Devontae Wyatt and Hargrave. And you got Carl Brooks on there, who is a better pass rushing defensive lineman too. And if we look at Tom Silverstein's piece from last week that we touched on, maybe the Packers are a little bit interested in locking him up long term. So I don't know if I'd be all aboard on all on board with this pick for a round 2 first pick overall, because it just, it doesn't scream immediate need for me or like immediate contribution for me. Now, if this was a massive nose tackle that's going to, be an early down guy and his job is to stop the run and that's what he excels in, boom, okay, I'm all in. But a rotational defensive tackle, maybe a little undersized, and it's very important for him to be in that right scheme. I don't know if that's a pick I'd like to see Green Bay do at that point. But we know Green Bay is going to have a little bit of a versatile defense. It's not just going to be straight up 3-4. There's going to be elements of both and that sort of thing. And depth. We talk about depth. That's just, I don't know if I'd be all about that one. Now, if he's got room to get bigger, add a little more mass, play a little inside, possibly. It's just, I think there's probably better options at this point in time. And maybe one of those options comes from the cornerback group. Let's go to Malik Muhammad, who is a corner from Texas, a Longhorn. All right, Longhorns fans may be a little familiar with him. 6 foot, buck 82, 182 pounds. His right up from Lance Zierlein. He's got good coverage talent to offset his slender frame. He can man up from press or off. It is a plus pattern matcher, staying in fades and shadowing break points. He displays outstanding vision and adheres to his zone cover principles, allowing him to play ideal efficiency at all three levels. He can get out-muscled by big, strong wideouts inside the route and at the catch point, but he doesn't give in and usually holds his own. He does a nice job of chopping pass catchers down in space, but a lack of play strength shows up in occasional broken tackles. He's a day 2 talent and starter level ability. All right. So there's a lot to like there, right? I like the height. I like 6 foot from a quarter standpoint. I think that's ideal height from a quarter defensive back. Weight, yeah. Let's get him in the weight room. Let's add some more muscle onto that frame. Add some more muscle, add a little bit more weight. Hopefully that leads to a little bit more of a physicality in the tackling department. I mean, the last thing I think a lot of us want to see is a corner that's going to use his shoulder to tackle a lot. Usually doesn't always pan out in the long term. Let's see a guy who wraps up. So let's add a little more muscle to him. But I like the height. And I like the fact that, okay, he might be out physical, but he ain't going to necessarily back down from that. I like that he could play press or play in zone. Multiple different schemes, the versatility that he provides there. I like that. Looking at some of his numbers, 2025, second team all SEC, 4 pass breakups, a couple interceptions, but 2024, 8 pass breakups, 16 games, 8 pass breakups. Heck yeah. Did have a pick, but 8 pass breakups. Yes, sir, sir, sir. It's not just about getting the picks. Yes, you want to see a quarter. If they get their hands on the ball, you want to see them come away with the catch. You want to see them come away with the interception and all that. But if they could get the pass breakup, and if they could get, that lockdown coverage, I'm all about that too. A lot to like on this one. A lot to like with Malik here. It's just the biggest thing is we got to get him in that weight room, it sounds like. Got to add some more muscle to him. Got to add some more, maybe that would lead to more physicality with him. But if this were to pick a day 2, I've seen him now. So I looked him up on a couple of the mock drafts. And again, this is where after round 1, mock drafts get a little bit, I don't want to say sketchy, but a little bit muddy. Because it's almost like, part of it too, I think, is why I like day 2. I like day 2 because I think for Green Bay, over the years, we've seen guys come in right away and be impact players on day 2, rounds 2 and 3 picks. But also, it's a little bit of a Wild West sort of thing. We could have all these mocks, and a lot of the experts and the analysts out there, they get it right, most parts. But, the beginning of day 2, or beginning of round 2, it's like the guys that everybody thought were going to be round 1 picks, it's like a race up there to try to grab some of those guys. And then it's kind of like, we thought he was going to be a round 3. He ends up being a round 2. We thought that guy was going to be a round 2 pick. He ends up getting drafted to round 4. So it's a little bit all over the place. It's a little bit of a Wild West type of feel. And I like that. Unpredictability. So, I mean, if this is an option, let's say, because I saw him as a round 3 pick, I like that. I like what he potentially brings to the table here. So that's just a couple more names to add to some potential picks for Green Bay when it comes to their round 2 or 3 or day 2 picks. So, all right, let's take a quick break as we start to wrap up the 3rd hour. We'll be right back after these few words. Looking for the perfect place to kick back this spring and summer? Well, then you need to head on over to the VFW Post 305, Eau Claire's go-to spot to relax, grab a beverage, and enjoy the moment. Inside, it's a great place to meet up with friends, but when that weather warms up consistently, it's all about that back patio, right? With one of the best river views in town, there's no better place to soak up the sunshine, unwind after work, or spend a weekend afternoon. Cold drinks, great people, and a view that you can't beat. VFW Post 305, your spot to hang out this season. All right, speaking of the VFW Post 305, let's do a little bit of a best and worst from the weekend. Submit your picks. What was the best? What was the worst from the weekend? You can send those on over via that Shoe Doctor's bullpen line at 715-830-1912. Or you can join in on the Section 105 YouTube chat. So, my best of the weekend, I got to go Brewers again, man. I got to go Christian Yelich. I got to go Garrett Mitchell. I got to go with the left-handed hitters right now with this Brewers lineup because they've been going up against some early left-handed pitching. And without the likes of a Jackson Chirio or an Andrew Vaughn in that lineup, going up against a lot of those guys, a lot of those left-handed pitching, I've been impressed. I've been really impressed with them so far. So the best of the weekend, it's the Brewers, and especially the offense, plus 28 in run differential through the first 9 games of the season for them. I mean, let's just take it for what it is right now. I know it's only 9 games in, but it's been awesome to kind of watch. So my best, I got to go with the Brewers. My worst, I got a couple. First of all, I'm going to go with the Gino and Don Staley interaction, altercation, whatever we want to call it, after the game in the Final Four. Not a great look for Gino. I know it was, he said it was about the pregame handshake, that he was waiting there for the longest time. And yes, videos does show that he was kind of standing around and waiting for the longest time for the pregame handshake and such. But there was, and I know he came out with a statement such, and I get it, the emotions after a game like that kind of got out-dominated a little bit, so you're upset. A lot of us have been there before. You know, it's just in the heat of the moment, still no excuse. It was a bad look and such, so that's the worst, especially when you got video to prove otherwise and such. But that's part of it. The whole Giannis thing that we talked about in the second hour, a lot of those quotes, that just didn't give me a really great feel of where everything's at between Giannis and the Bucks and their relationship over there too. And then finally, more of a personal thing, Arizona getting dominated by Michigan, because that did not clinch the bracket challenge for me. I need UConn to win. I didn't pick UConn to win, but I need UConn to win, because if Michigan wins, I'm pretty sure I lose. I go from first to second. So I need UConn to win. As much as I'm not a UConn fan, I need them to win so I get a little bit of bragging rights for at least 364 days of the year. So I just can't say 3. Can I still say 360? Yeah, I can still say 364, 365, 366, whatever. Okay? Till next year. So, Arizona not winning did not clinch it for me. So, and I don't feel great about UConn's chances, because Michigan is just kind of humming right now. They're rolling right now. So I don't feel that great about their chances to get the job done. So that is my VFW Post 305 best and worst from the weekend. So, all right. Coming up next hour, we're going to catch up with our guy, Justice Cleveland, sports director extraordinaire, WEAU 13 News. He's going to be joining us. We'll do some local sports roundup brought to you by Carpet City Flooring Center. So we'll hit that up. Also, we'll do our little Glory Day segment brought to you by Summer Jam in Eau Claire. It's also Masters Week. All right, anybody getting geared up a little bit for Masters Week? For the Masters starting up on Thursday. We'll get back to some more Brewers talk as the Brewers get set to take on the Boston Red Sox. Brandon Woodruff on the mound for his second start today. So, and I know a lot of people probably getting amped up and excited for tomorrow's start between the Miz Kid and Garrett Crochet. So, but hey, taking it one day at a time, one pocket turtle at a time. Don't know what I'm talking about. Look up Brewers and pocket turtles. So, Bobby Jr. I love it. So we'll talk some more Brewers and such, and continue to give me your thoughts on the whole Giannis thing. And put yourself in Giannis's shoes, because I think this is ultimately what he might have to decide. When we go through all those quotes in that Milwaukee Journal Sentinel piece by Lori Nickel, quotes from Giannis himself. He values privacy. He values family. Those are like his top things. But he's also said it's championships. It's all about championships. So at this stage in his career, try to put yourself, don't do what you would do. Try to put yourself in the mind of the Greek freak Giannis. Do you think he will prioritize family, privacy? That's why he says he loves Milwaukee, because it gives him that. Or will he prioritize winning another championship, which means it might be in a bigger market, which means you won't have the privacy and you'll have more media attention on his family. He doesn't care about it on him. He doesn't want it on his kids. He doesn't want it on his wife. That's what he doesn't want. And he gets upset when there is that. What's going to win? What's going to be, which way does that seesaw go? And if you read the comments or you were listening in the second hour of the program, when we went through a lot of them, what's your gut telling you about this whole situation between Giannis and the Bucks? It's kind of a messy finish. It is a messy finish to the regular season here. A season that was just a mess to begin with is getting a little bit uglier here. We got 4 games left to go in this thing. They're back at it tomorrow, taking on the Nets. Pistons on Wednesday. Nets again on Friday. And then they wrap up the regular season on Sunday against the 76ers. Bucks just have one more home game. That's it. They're on the road against Brooklyn tomorrow, on the road against Detroit on Wednesday, home against Brooklyn. Is that going to be, will Giannis? He still wants to play, and he wants to play with his brother Alex. Will he get that shot to do it in the last 4 games, and will that be in the final home game of the regular season, of the season for the Bucks? We'll see. But let me know your thoughts, all right? Hit me up. Text it, 715-830-1912. Or, again, you can join in on the Section 105 chat if you'd like. So, I only got about a minute and a half here till shot clock cuts me off. So, if you want, you can still send me some of your best and worst from the weekend, brought to you by VFW Post 305. All right, just from the weekend. What was the best and what was the worst? And continue to send me your predictions for tonight. You're going to go with Michigan to capture the national championship? Or do you think UConn gets another one? Where do you think this is going to go? Who do you think? Who are you going to roll with? It might be a little bit different on who you want to win. So if you have to, give me who you want to win and give me who you think will win. I want UConn to win, not just because I just purely selfish standpoint, but I think I might be leaning towards a little bit Michigan tonight just because they've been playing so dang well. And they just, I don't know, man. They look like kind of an unstoppable force at this point. So we'll see how it all plays out. But from all the texts and messages we got, it seems to be right now at 50-50 in terms of how they feel like where this thing's going to go. So, all right. News updates. We'll be back in just a couple minutes. All right, here we go. Final hour. Kick it off right now on this Monday morning, a brand new work week here. Appreciate you tuning in, wherever, however you're tuning in from. We've got more Brewers talk coming your way. We'll hit that up as the Brewers will be taking their show to the friendly confines of Fenway this evening, taking on the Boston Red Sox. Brandon Woodruff will be getting his second career start for this season. So we'll talk plenty of Brewers coming up here. I thought we had a football thing, but nope. All right.
No breaking news?
No breaking news here. So sorry, nothing like that. So.
There's no special NFL day today?
There is no special NFL day today.
Surprising.
Yeah, right.
Trying to squeeze something in
yeah.
Pre-release schedule day.
Happy, that is Justice Cleveland, by the way. Sports Seed 13 extraordinaire. So happy Masters Week, sir.
Yes, indeed.
Happy birthday week, too.
Hello, friends.
Hello, friends. This is your favorite time of the year? One of your favorite times of the year?
It is.
Yeah.
I mean, selfishly, it coincides with my birthday, so it's kind of like one of those.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's an enjoyable week because I know I'm taking Friday off to watch that moving day there.
Yeah.
See what happens at Augusta, hopefully.
Right.
I've been lucky enough to have some of those days where they get rained out, and you're like, oh, great.
Is that easily the number one thing on your bucket list is going to the Masters?
I think sports-wise, yeah. I mean, that would be just to be able to go walk around Augusta National and watch golf probably the way it's meant to be watched. Like cell phones, you can't bring them on. It's just you're out there immersing yourself in something like that. I think that's a dream. Will it happen? Who knows? But man,
have you
it's
tried
right
to
there.
sign up for that? No. Yeah.
I just think about like, it's going to be a hit on the checkbook. How many rounds of golf does that equate to?
Would you be willing to sacrifice a whole summer of not playing golf to go to the Masters?
Maybe when I'm older. Right now, no. That to me, it just wouldn't be a good trade-off because I love being out there so much that it would just for that 4 days. If I 4-day pass and all that stuff, if it was ever possible, it'd be hard for me to pass up golfing.
Right. So. We're going to talk a little bit about that coming up later on and such. So let's talk some Brewers to kick off a little bit with this. So 7-2 to begin the season. No Jackson Cheerio. They've had Andrew Vaughn for a game and such, and yet this team is putting up runs and really putting up runs against left-handed pitching as well, which is kind of, when you look at the guys who have really excelled, it's been left-handed hitters too. It's Yelich, it's Bryce Terreg, it's Garrett Mitchell. Right. Obviously, Gary Sanchez has lead the team in home
run leader,
right
Gary Sanchez, that we all had penciled in at the start.
Exactly. So, what's kind of maybe impressed you the most with this start for the Brewers?
I think it's just the continuation of what they've been doing is that grittiness. They've fallen behind in a lot of those games, giving up some early runs, and it doesn't even faze them. Yesterday was just that anomaly that they scored first. Right. Which just doesn't seem to ever happen. But, yeah, I think it's been that great. The pitching has just been solid, really solid. And you haven't seen any panic. You had with the Miz, he gives up those early home runs and then his bounce back. Same with Woodruff in his first start, kind of gave up the 2 home runs, but they're not allowing guys to get on base to where those home runs are really gashing them for too much. So all around, it's just been solid play. And I think just kind of what have built the Brewers to what they are now is just that Pat Murphy knows how to get the most out of all these players. And we're seeing Garrett Mitchell. I think that's kind of been nice to see him get this chance to play, and he's making the most of it. I don't know if he leads the team in RBIs, but he's right there. I know.
Let me double check because he's got 11. He might actually be leading his team.
So, I mean, he's on pace for like 180 RBI this season. So, Hack Wilson. Watch out, Hack Wilson. Here comes Garrett Mitchell for that RBI record. I think it's Hack Wilson that has that.
If it is, kudos to you because that's a great name, Paul. He is, and the next closest is Yelich at 8. So
yeah. So I mean that's great. And Yelich, I mean we didn't know. You still kind of didn't know what you were going to get from Yelich because you're just not sure. He's getting up there. He's still obviously coming off a major back surgery. Still, that's always going to be there. It's always going to be linked. But he's been solid. He's getting the triple there yesterday to kind of lead things off for the team. It's really been as good of a start as you can imagine. And, you end up losing 1 to the Royals. but you play a doubleheader. So it's kind of like one of those where you can expect. It's so hard to sweep a doubleheader.
Yeah.
And to do that, still only, it'd be 7-2 at this point, off, 5 games above 500. It's a really good start for the Brewers.
It is. It is. I mean, plus 28 in run differential right now, too, from the offensive side. Kyle Harrison, one of their younger pitchers, looks awesome so far. I know Brandon Sprout hasn't been the greatest start for him to begin the year, but Chad Patrick looks good.
Yeah.
Jacob Mizorowski looks good. Brandon Woodruff looked good in his first start, too. Bullpen has been really sharp more times than not. So, I mean, crucial hitting, clutch hitting, late game hitting for this team.
It's such a, and I know, we go back to the Council days when it was such a reliance on the home run that these guys now, I love the mindset shift to just get the ball in play.
Right.
Find a way to get it in play. You get the home runs will come, but let's not just rely on one thing. Let's play some small ball if we have to. And it's a scrappy team, and it's just one of the more fun teams to watch in baseball, if not the fun, just because of the way they play the game right now.
Right.
Compared to a lot of the power ball that you're seeing out there in baseball.
Right. And, I know it gets talked about to death almost, but it's like they're kind of, is it fair to say the Brewers are kind of an annoying team for a lot of other teams because, they don't rely on the power ball. They force you to play some really good defense, all these 2-out hits, and then you throw in what you're getting from this pitching side. Are they just kind of that annoying team that maybe nobody wants to play because you don't really have a good game plan to beat them because they maybe can beat you in multiple different ways.
Yeah, you're not, they're not looking for that one big hit. They have guys, it's the death by a million paper cuts.
Yeah.
That's how the Brewers play baseball, and it works. And I think if, the problem is obviously it's disappeared in the playoffs.
Right.
And that's where that's got to change. But I think for these teams, I think like the Red Sox are looking at it. You're playing a lot of these American League teams that are just out there bashing, especially in that East.
Right.
They're looking to bash the ball, and not that the Brewers aren't, but they do. They find a way to get those opposite field hits. They spray them. They hit them where you ain't is still the way to play baseball, and I think that's what the Brewers do to the best in the MLB right now.
Yeah, I know the longest time they didn't have an error. They did have one error over the weekend, so Cincinnati's the only team now with no errors. But
that's pretty crazy to get this far in the season and not have something just bounce off a rock and hit somebody somewhere.
Right, because you've got, there's Tampa Bay that has 13 errors. Washington has 10. Boston already has 9. So, it's stuff like that. But
the Twins, you take 13 runs this season so far. It's been a rough start for them. And sorry, Twins fans.
No,
I feel bad because I feel very bad for Twins fans right now for what they're kind of having to go through with the ownership and them just not putting on a team that I really think can be that competitive. And Brewers fans have been through that. There were years where you're just like, this is what we did. I think of, no offense to Dean Taylor and those days of those Brewers teams where it's like when Sean Barry, Jeffrey Hammonds, those were your big free agent signings, and you're like, we're not gonna do anything this year, are we? So for Twins fans, I really do feel for you, and hopefully something happens where you guys can get an owner that supports that team.
Right.
Doesn't try to sell them, then not sell them, which is, I guess, now a Minnesota tradition of putting your team up for sale and then at the last minute being like, maybe not. We want it. All right, sorry, there's my rant.
Nice. All right, tell you what, we got to take a quick break. We'll talk some more Brewers, though, coming up here as well. I do want to get Justice's thoughts on the whole Giannis drama that's unfolding right now before our eyes and that. So, plus a little local sports roundup, too, because kind of a big week, I think, for baseball, softball, and a lot of those games getting underway here, too. And I know Blue Gold softball, we've got WIAC Conference now starting up this weekend, too. So, big stretch for Blue Gold stuff as well. So, and I got to get your thoughts on Blue Gold basketball because big time
something happened.
Something happened. Something happened. So
I was sleeping all last week.
And I think, and a big introductory presser is it tomorrow, too?
Yes, tomorrow afternoon.
Over there. So we'll hit that all up on our local sports roundup brought to you by Carpet City Flooring Center. Quick break. We'll be right back after these few words. All right, we'll get back to some Brewers talk coming up here in just a little bit as we get set for the game against the Red Sox side. Excuse me, I had a little lifesaver trying to preserve my throat here. Now it's like made my mouth too watery and such. So
coming back from that spring break and
man, well, I'm just getting over like a weird sinus infection last week too. So that was my spring break. That was awesome.
Well, that's great.
Yeah,
I had something on Saturday. It was kind of the same thing,
Yeah.
like where I was floored for a good 20 hours. Just like felt like I couldn't move, and thankfully it went away. But it's nice to go to your in-laws and then like have to like lay down and hide. And it's not like it used to be when now in my 40s. It's just that was it. Nothing else hated this. This just came naturally, which is even more fun.
So tell you what, let's do a local sports roundup brought to you by Carpet City Floors. Let's start off with the Blue Golds, shall we? Because I know it was a little over a week now, but we've got the introductory presser coming our way tomorrow with the big hiring of Hannah Iverson, the new Blue Gold women's basketball coach. So coming home. Coming home. Eau Claire North graduate.
Eau Claire
right?
North, yep.
Played college ball at UW Green Bay and such. Obviously, former UW Stout head coach. Went to the Final Four, not this past season, but the prior season for Stout. Sweet 16, I think the year before that too. So, I don't think I'm exaggerating. A big time hire for the Blue Golds.
Oh, I think so. I don't think you could have gotten a bigger hire with as much name recognition in the area as you got with Hannah Iverson. I mean, she star at Eau Claire North, so obviously has her roots here. I believe still was living in town here when she was working over in Stout. So, gets her back home, closer to her family, a little easier for her. But yeah, I mean, you go from Tanya, a legend.
Yeah,
and you bring in Hannah, who had built such a good reputation over there at Stout. She'd been mentioned for D1 jobs too. So you got everything that that as a staff there for the Blue Golds you would want to bring in and be the next generation here to lead this team. So yeah, I mean that it was surprising. Obviously, when we got it, it's just like wow, what a grab for the Blue Golds. And it'll be fun to see her now at the helm here at the Sonantag.
Obviously, probably adds a little bit more to the rivalry with Stout, too, I would imagine.
Oh, yeah.
So,
it'll be some spice there. When I worked up in the UP, I remember one of the football coaches going from, like, NMU to Michigan Tech, or it might have been vice versa. And, yeah, like when you have those rivalries like that it's your biggest rival and you switch sides, basically.
Right.
It'll be interesting to see when they play next year.
Exactly.
For sure.
Yeah, especially maybe on the road over to UW Stout too.
Yeah.
So now the question to flip it over to Stout is where do they go, because their associate head coach also followed Hannah over here too. So they're going to be looking for a new head coach.
And that's the tough thing for Stout is obviously you've had Hannah come and take that team to heights, and now you've got to kind of restart. So I don't know. That's the tough question. That's that's going to be. Do you go? Like you said, you don't have kind of anybody in that coaching tree. Maybe that could take over there.
Yeah.
Maybe some ex-players, somebody like that. But yeah, it'll be an interesting search for them to see where they end up landing when that all is said and done. So yeah, it's a weird situation because I don't think I've had anything like that while I've been here in my 15 years. So this is. It's very, very unique, and it'll be fun to kind of see how it all plays out.
Absolutely. Softball-wise, I know they had a doubleheader this past weekend, dropping both games, kind of ending their winning streak here too. But now things are really going to get interesting. I know they got a couple games this week before the weekend when they take on Oshkosh in a full-fledged of WIAC conference games. But again, with Coach Huntington and her staff and Robin Baker, just another great start to this season. Yeah. And becoming, I know last week they cracked the top 25 for rankings and such, and I can't wait to see this WIAC portion of the schedule coming.
Right, and like Claire Beck, I believe, was the conference player of the week before too. So you get the two-way player, the pitcher and the hitter. It has really been a great start for them to do what they were able to do here in non-conference, and now you roll it into WIAC play. And they got a game against Northwestern, I believe, tomorrow, and then they roll it on to conference play there. So good start for them. It's just such that program. Leslie does such a great job, Coach Huntington there, and that every year in year out, that's a team that has a chance to win the conference, and that starts at the top. And just the way that they coach that team up and get everybody in the right places. And yeah, it'll be interesting, come into conference play, but I think that's a team that has a chance to go far. And I feel like that every year with them. But again, when you have a coach and a coaching staff like they have, that's a team that you just always, they're like, okay, this is a team that could make a run. And we saw what they can do in non-conference. So
right.
I think they could do it again coming in the conference play too.
Speaking of conference play, I know baseball for the Blue Goals are off to a 10-6 start.
Yes.
They've got Stout for a doubleheader today. Yeah,
Yep.
and then Stevens Point later on in the week, and then Whitewater. So, I mean, a busy week here for Blue Gold baseball. Weather cooperate. So.
Exactly, yeah. I mean, this is the tough part about early April. You start these conference play, and obviously you can't play baseball inside the Sonnentag, so you're kind of at the mercy. And I know, I believe Stout's playing at Wakanda Park, because the amount of rain we got, moisture in the last week. If you don't have, if the drainage isn't there, you need to find wherever you can. That's the same with the Blue Golds. You have Carson Park, but you also have Bollinger and Stein, as feel like different places that if you needed to, at least you can play. So yeah, that team, it's good to see them off to a start like this. They've had their, since they've come back, it's been rough, but you could see it starting to ramp up. And I hope this is the year that, they can make that turn. And it starts with conference play. It's, playing Stout today to kind of kick off a big week of games. We'll see where they're at. I think there'll be a good test to see where both teams are at come after today.
Right. I got to give a little shout out to UW Clare men's golf too, because they began their season. They finished with a top 10 performance at Illinois Wesleyan Invitational this past weekend. I know you and I talk a lot about this program for the last couple of years and just the consistency and rise that they've had. But I mean, to kick off their spring season with a top 10 finish, and we know it's hard to advance for nationals, but I mean, these are the types of finishes you probably need to get to that point.
Yeah, and I just, I look back on just how hard it has to be. Being in Wisconsin is not easy to just kick off and all of a sudden be out there and playing. As much indoor training as you can do, nothing compares to when you're actually out there.
Yep.
Hitting outside and playing in an actual conditions. But they got them going, and what a good start for them. And I mean, the nice thing is they travel south for most of their tournaments this time of year, so they're playing in better conditions.
Right.
We're supposed to be in like the 70s next week, so who knows? Like, they'll be able to get out. Hopefully, get out now if you really want to. So and Coach Skinner and the team usually just.
Yeah, he's got
ready to
them
go.
Dialed in, and you can even see the improvements too with the women's team too. Yeah, so for golf. So
exactly, and they've gotten with the simulators and improvement in facilities for them. That's obviously helped them continue to keep things and not have that drop off in the off season.
Right. Let's go to the high school side of things. I know for this week, we got some baseball. Again, weather.
Again,
with a lot of this.
Nothing's more fun when you're baseball players getting out there and today 39 degree. Well, that's going to be like the Blue Gold Stout. It's like, you're wearing the stocking caps and trying to keep as warm as you can,
the
layered up.
Turtlenecks maybe underneath the jersey.
Exactly. So, but that's kind of what comes with the territory of playing this early. But we got baseball and softball kind of kicks into full gear. The last couple of weeks, it's been a lot of, we had indoor track and field going on that thankfully, like Stouts hosted how many of them? Eau Claire's hosted them. So, so now we get into baseball, and again, the whole week is filled with games. How many of those games get played? Field conditions are going to be tough, I think, especially early in the week here after all the moisture that was out there. But, got some games scheduled for Carson Park this week. I know North's supposed to open their season there. So, we'll see what we can get in. Yeah, that's just kind of roll the dice and hope you can get some of those games in.
From a baseball and softball perspective, when we kind of look at these seasons, is it kind of the usual suspects again? Do you think for potential for really good seasons like North baseball, Chi-High softball, sort of thing?
Yeah, I think so. I think the Big Rivers is pretty wide open. I don't know if there's one team that, in my mind, that's standing way out there right now, especially I think in our area. I think a lot of them are going to be even keel, so that makes it a lot of fun. Yeah, they're gonna, every one of those conference games is going to mean something. Really for these teams to battle, because I think I don't know if there's a team that is just showing that right now. And it's so early. Like you're kind of going off what you had from last year, right? But I don't know if looking at the softball, we did an Augusta game, and I wish I could think of her name, with the pitcher there who struck out the first 16 batters for Augusta. So if you have a pitcher like that, it's going to take you far. And then, the McDonald's and Chi Highs of the world, when it comes to softball, are, that's just such a program for that town to, they have it just every year. They find ways to be competitive. Fall Creek obviously had a great run the last couple of years. Lost a lot of players to graduation, but I think you're still going to have enough that's left. And then you can't speak to how much it helps the younger players develop to be on those successful teams and kind of see that winning culture. So I think Fall Creek will be able to make a run. Bloomer getting some of the, Zweifel-Hofer couldn't pitch last year because of a knee injury. So she's back, and when she's on the mound and she can hit, and that team's going to make some runs. Elk Mound has always got tough teams. So I always feel bad when I'm like naming off these teams because I'm always going to forget somebody, and I'm not trying to do that. It's just, especially this early in the season, you're just kind of going back to, the muscle memory of these teams that have made runs, and we'll just see what happens here the next. Augusta and Blair Taylor, I believe, have a game. That'll be fun because Blair Taylor always a team that is in the sectionals there for softball too. So.
To kind of wrap it up.
Allevius Strum too.
To kind of wrap it up, golf-wise too, because I always like to pick your brain when it comes to high school golf because we both obviously love, and, I used to play high school golf too. I mean, we know this area is rich with so much incredible talent, boys and girls side, but with spring being the boys' high school golf season, same kind of, again, Eau Claire, you got Chi. There's so many good. Is there anything that we should be kind of keeping our eyes on, or is it kind of?
Well, you mentioned his dad earlier, but Elliot Skinner.
Yeah.
I think he's only a junior, and he's making national teams, and watching him, that's definitely one that that will be out there. A lot of these, it's been a lot of changing of the guard for a lot of these teams. Memorial had such a run there of just insane run.
Yep.
That now it's the newer generation, so we'll have to see. And Troy Byrne is hosting, I believe it's on Wednesday, so a lot of the D1 teams will be there. So we'll kind of get a taste of some of the teams there at Troy Byrne. Granted, who knows what the weather? Pack your parka because it might be a little chilly. I know Wednesday's supposed to be a little warmer, but I think there's supposed to be a chance of rain. So, so we'll kind of see that. We there's still some guys left from last year that were juniors and stuff like that. But it is a lot of a big change coming up, and kind of just see how it plays out the first few weeks and see, again, I'm defaulting to it's early in the season, but that's kind of how it goes. It's just like these teams are going to play through some horrible weather, but that's how you kind of develop who's going to stand out from the crop.
Right. Yeah. And then I want to give a shout out because I know you guys have done a really good job covering them as well. Team A-Bear for curling.
Indeed.
Continuing to rack up some national recognition too.
And their season as back-to-back junior national champions, and just a dominating performance over in Bismarck this last week. Just lost one match the whole time and got the win there on Saturday to take home their second junior national championship to go with the World Junior Championship that they won the month before.
Right.
Just an outstanding performance, and we're really seeing this team as they're starting to kind of get close to that wrapping up of their junior careers.
Right.
A team that I think is going to be a force. The fact that they got to go to, the Olympic trials this past year. I think this is, that's a team that all eyes are going to be on as they start making that transition into the realm of, the bigger ranks. But, as a junior team, they are the cream of the crop.
Right.
You can't, national and world champs, and I don't know how it all works if they'll have a chance to defend that next year, which I think they would at the world one because you won it. But
right.
Yeah. So we had Team McMullen and Kadlick too, two other teams from Western Wisconsin that were also represented over in Bismarck. So we're just becoming a curling hub here on this side.
Yeah, we are.
It really is fun, and it's as somebody who I knew a little about the sport. It is more and more that you get involved and learn more and more about it. And the club has been great at Fred Fetzer over there at the Eau Claire Curling Club of feeding us information, and Poplinski obviously too.
Mike,
yeah. So it's really been. You could see the love that they have for this team because you don't have this is a once in a generation grouping that they somehow these guys just all started playing together.
Yeah.
And now you're seeing them win title after title after title. So you see the sky being the limit there.
Yeah, no doubt. Good stuff. JC and EC, Justice Cleveland, Sports Scene 13 for our local sports roundup, brought to you by Carpet City Flooring Center. We got some breaking news. Hoops wise, we'll tell you what that is. Little tease coming up after these quick words. So probably no big surprise, but just a little bit ago, it's being reported that John Blackwell he's leaving Wisconsin one way or the other. He is going to be going through the draft process. He'll enter both the NBA draft process and the transfer portal for his final season of eligibility. So a little bit different than last year where he entered the draft process but remained committed to Wisconsin. So if he was going to get out of the draft process, he's going to go back to Wisconsin, which is exactly what happened.
Yep.
This year is different. He is not coming back to Wisconsin. Either he's going to be in the draft or he will be gone elsewhere. So I'm not too surprised, to be honest with you.
I mean, when you enter last year,
I think he wants to go to the draft.
Right.
But I think he's like, okay, if I still don't get the grade or the round, I'm going to go somewhere probably to earn some cash. Then,
exactly, yeah. I mean, that's the thing. You earn money before you become a pro, which you can do now. So, not a surprise. And I don't think it should be a surprise anytime now when somebody goes in the portal.
No. So
unless somebody who's like claimed to bleed, Badger red, like
right.
But I don't think we've really see that anymore.
That's the thing, and I throw this out to, and I know this was a couple weeks ago, but I saw some people after the Badgers lost to that, kind of get, saying, how does, why can't Wisconsin keep their in-state recruits? They got to do a better job of this. Greg Gar's got to do a better job of that. And to which I would say, okay, try to put yourself in the shoes of a 16, 17, 18-year-old kid. You're in Wisconsin. Some may have that pride to play.
Yeah.
Maybe they are a Sam Decker or a Bronson Katie. But a lot of 16, 17, 18-year-olds, if they get a phone call from a Duke or from somewhere else, like the Cons of the world, that's going to get them a little bit more excited.
And it used to be just a phone call.
Right.
And a full ride.
Yeah.
Now it's a phone call, full ride, and money.
Yep.
So, I don't see how it's hard for Wisconsin to compete in that world unless you just, and obviously the money is a huge part now.
Right.
And how much, we don't know how much these guys are making.
Yeah.
So, you don't know how much John Blackwell got to come back to
exactly
the Badgers last year.
He's probably going to get a lot next year if he doesn't go through the draft and goes to the probably, I would assume, if it's not a bigger college, but it's going to be a bigger paycheck. So, it's a world, and we'll see, the executive order that was signed, if that can hold up and how much that affects when does that go into effect? Are people grandfathered in that are already right?
And there's a lot of legal questions that get arise from that order that are going to get challenged in court.
So I'll just say this: the one coach that the last couple of years who has constantly said one of his biggest misses was John Blackwell was Tom Izzo. And Blackwell is from Michigan, so it's probably not hard to connect one dot to where he could potentially go.
Right. You have that, and then you have Michigan in the title game.
Yep.
And they're going to need to get some players.
Yeah.
Does he go to a team that could potentially have just won a national title?
Right.
So, those would be – I'm not going to say it, but, Central Michigan maybe has a chance. Eastern Michigan, Western Michigan. But I'm going to – Michigan State or Michigan probably have the best chance. I'm not going to also NMU and Michigan Tech. Grand Valley State, State.
I would be shocked if Tom Izzo probably doesn't make the same mistake twice.
Yeah.
I try really hard to get him to come over to Michigan State.
You didn't like me just trying to throw out all the Oakland. Gogebic Community College.
Hey. I played against Gogebic when I was at UW Barron County.
Gogebic. It's one of those got to get to say it, and then I'm channeling all my UP knowledge from working up there and all the different colleges, and I'm sure I forgot some. I think Michigan State or Michigan really have a good chance, and they're going to really have the money. So.
Yep. So, but it's just that's where I would again go back to everybody complain. Yeah, I would love every Wisconsin recruit to stay at Wisconsin. And for us as adults and 40-year-olds or however, it's easy for us to say that. But I also remember when I was 16 and 17, and I wore a North Carolina hat.
Right. You had Wisconsin, but you kind of always had your side team that was like, okay, well, I want Wisconsin to succeed.
Yep.
But also, I kind of like this team over here.
When I'm playing March Madness on PS2, I was in Wisconsin.
Right.
You know, I was North Carolina or even Marquette with D. Wade on there or something.
Like me growing up, it was always like UNLV.
Yep.
Because I grew up, my mom's from was born in Vegas. So it's like, it's always kind of had a little bit of a, or Arizona. And like, I think Lute Olson, because he had like ties to North Dakota and stuff like that. So there was always those teams that you're like, okay, come on, Wisconsin, but hey, this team does it. I'm happy.
Yeah. Yep. So, all right. Back to, so since we're talking hoops, I got to get your thoughts on the whole Giannis thing. First of all, I keep giving it, but it's a fantastic pieces by Lori Nickel.
Oh, Lori's, kudos to Lori.
Yeah.
If you don't follow her, in like one of the hardest working journalists, best writers in the state. And this is just another, you know how much legwork she had to do to be able to get Giannis to talk about this.
Really open up too. Yeah. And you can read it from her too. And just, I think too, she's not one of those like really egging and digging and trying, really respectful to the privacy. And I think athletes, especially Giannis, respect that too. That's why they give reporters like that. I mean, I know Lori in passing, but what I get from Lori is there's not anything about touting her. Yeah. She lets her writing do the speaking. And I think that's what players respect, is that they know they're going to get, an unjudgmented view of what they're saying. So, I going to it, and if you haven't read it, please, read the whole article. It was a tough year for Giannis because he was separated from his family. And I think you could see that. There was something early in the season that this wasn't the same Giannis that we've known. I think the whole season you've almost seen it, that this is a guy who wasn't in a place that he wanted to be at, especially on the floor. And then, the injuries and then all that pressure adds in. Yeah, I think it's tough. You want him to be happy because you don't want a miserable guy on your team that's not in a position to where he's going to be happy and want to be out there playing when he's just not in that right situation. So what it becomes is Milwaukee that place where his family could be with him, get the privacy that he wants for his family. Yeah. That's what he might have to decide, right? Yeah. What's more important to him? Is it another championship or is it the prize? Because he said, I don't have a security team. I don't want to have a security team. That's why I love Milwaukee. Sorry, but if you go to New York or L.A., you're not going to get that privacy. No. What I will say is the infrastructure for people with higher profile lives is there in those bigger cities. And this is kind of piggybacking on the whole LeBron James, on the whole Memphis. Yeah. And he's like, the two towns he doesn't like to play in are Memphis and Milwaukee. Which I'm still confused why that got thrown. Just, he said travel. Why are you throwing Milwaukee under the... Yeah. But we've kind of all known this because back in even his first run with the Cavs, he rarely played in those games when they were in Milwaukee. So, and if it's travel, I mean, it's farther to go to Charlotte. Yeah. So I'm still confused by it. I think, and I saw this, somebody commented on this, is that Milwaukee is more built. There isn't that infrastructure for those big time, I'll say rich. It's built for the working class. Even your bigger things in Milwaukee are built basically for the working class. So they were talking about like when Brewers go out, they're usually at places, they're public places. There aren't a lot of these private places that these guys go. So they're going to have to mingle with the public when they go out. And so I think for like LeBron, when you're the highest profile athlete in the world, you really can't go anywhere. Yeah. So I think that's what and I think Memphis is kind of similar to that. So that makes sense. And they would talk like Jordan was like the same thing with Milwaukee, that he didn't enjoy. 'Cause there's just kind of not that, you can't be in a bubble. Right. You're out there. So from that perspective, in a way, you can understand it in a way, but also, somebody who takes pride in those towns, that's kind of a nice thing that those towns have, that they're... Well, maybe that's it's the benefit of somebody who plays for Milwaukee, like a Giannis, because you get the Midwest nice and the respect. But then if you're on the outside, it's like, of course you're going to get the gawkers then, right? Right. You're going to get the other side of that. And it depends on how comfortable you are in that situation, and how and how much privacy. I feel like in my mind, Giannis is going to get more privacy in Milwaukee than he's going to get
in these bigger cities, like a New York
Yeah.
or a Los Angeles. That being said, there's probably more of a security detail and like people that know how to deal with the high class celebrity that comes with this than there is probably, let's say, in a Milwaukee. So it's a tough. Either way, it's tough because I think if you're Giannis, I think Milwaukee probably feels more like a home.
Mm-hmm.
But how much? I don't know. It really is. I don't know if I have an answer for this.
Yeah.
And I don't know if he has an answer because you have to balance it. Like, you can't. Your family was in Greece for half the season.
Mm-hmm.
Well, that's not feasible for you to be traveling back to Greece.
And if the 2020 bubble was really hard where you thought about quitting,
Yeah.
I mean, okay, what is more important to you then right now?
But I admire the commitment he has to his family.
Yes.
That to me is like the biggest thing right there. It's
that
like,
should be your number one, and you don't
Yep.
see that a whole lot. Yeah, I totally agree with you.
and it's just like he's got to. That's tough when you're one of the probably top 5 most recognizable people in a worldwide sport.
Yeah.
Anywhere you go, people know who Giannis is.
Yep.
But I don't know where you're going to find that. You got to find that balance. That work-life balance for everybody is tough. And I think when you're a superstar at that level, I don't know how, balancing that private life that you want to have with a very, very public persona in what you do. I don't know where you find that. I always feel like Milwaukee and Green Bay, like people always talk Green Bay small when it comes to like NFL players, but you're not under the constant scrutiny and pressure that you would be if you're in New York.
Right.
Or if you're in LA. I think LA might be a little more relaxed than I think the New York.
Like, I
media.
feel like you could probably get lost in a crowd in New York and LA compared to Green Bay, but at least in Green Bay, like I would say they put you on a pedestal. Like if you're Aaron Rodgers, you're Brett Favre, you're on a pedestal.
Yeah.
And maybe you could get lost and just, but at the same time, there's more respect within the smaller communities.
Yeah.
Does that make sense? I mean,
I
you
think so.
spent time, you live there,
Yeah,
so you would know.
and it was like you'd be grocery shopping,
right.
and you'd be like, okay, that's a Packer player coming. Yeah,
And that's
like,
the difference, kind of what you're saying. Like, you go to New York and you're at a big fancy restaurant, you got the media outside waiting for you.
Right.
Nobody's outside waiting at Perkins,
No.
for somebody to come out when they're done eating or something.
But that's where that balance comes. Is like, okay, but you have places you can go if you're, let's say, ultra rich. If you're a millionaire, a multimillionaire, a billionaire, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like there are places in those big cities to go. There's not really anywhere in Green Bay you can go.
No.
Milwaukee, there's a few, but there's not really that either.
Right.
So it's a balance, and I don't think there's a quick answer for this.
Yeah.
I think if he wants to be that guy he's got to be happy because the way he was this year, I don't know if they can find success with that Giannis.
Right.
They need the free-flowing, kind of happy-go-lucky Giannis
Yep.
to be successful because I think he put that pressure on his shoulders then to try to carry the team.
Yep.
And then there was no offensive flow. Like, you could see it when he came back after they kind of had that successful run without him for a little bit.
Yep.
You're like, okay, Giannis is coming back now. And then the offense screeched to a halt.
Yeah.
So there's changes that need to be made, and I don't know if Giannis is going to be part of this team or if he wants to continue. He's got to be happy. That's what it comes down to. He's got to be happy because if he's happy and he's in Milwaukee, they're going to be successful. If he's miserable and he's in Milwaukee, then why would you want to keep throwing that out there?
Exactly. Yep. All right, we got to take a quick break, and then we're going to wrap it up with some picks. Who are we picking for the national championship? And then we'll pick tonight's Brewers-Red Sox game. That's coming up after these quick words. All right, we are wrapping up this hour. Wrapping up the program. Just a couple minutes left here, so let's get to some picks, shall we? Start it off with college basketball national championship. Who you rolled with tonight?
Oh, man. I have to pick. Not two of my favorite teams in the world here.
No.
I'll go, why not Michigan? I used to love them back in the
Fab Five
days. Yeah, so I guess I can it hurts being, a Wisconsin fan to say that, but Juwan Howard's not the coach anymore, so I'm kind of more okay with that.
Juwan Howard, how you feel right now? Yeah, It's like after a couple of years, it's like, man, if I didn't screw that up.
Oh, you can be like, the best thing I did was get out of the way.
Yeah, that too. So, yeah. I got to say it because if UConn wins, I win our bracket challenge. So I got to go UConn. But I will say this. The way Michigan's been playing in this tournament, I do not feel good about that because they're playing really well. So
it's like they found a different gear.
Yep.
It's all Wisconsin. They helped them.
Yep. Yeah, right. So, Brewers, Red Sox tonight. Brandon Woodruff, game 2. Caleb Durbin's only gotten 2 hits.
Yeah, at least he's got 2 hits now because when he was 0 for it was not looking good for him. And
he had Isaac Collins in the series prior and Nick Mears, and now we got Andrew Monasterio and Caleb Durbin in this one.
I'm still going to go Brewers. Woodruff, hopefully he can get a quality start out of this. I know that Green Monster lurks there, but I'm going to say the Brewers get the win. I'm
gonna go Brewers too. Not to get too far ahead, but like tomorrow night's game 2 with Garrett Groshette and Jacob Mizorowski.
Yeah.
That has the makings of a good one. We'll see.
And the Miz, I've loved the way he's handled, giving up some early runs, but doesn't get. The emotion level I think has went down because now he's been there a little bit and done that. So I like that.
Normally I would ask JC for his Masters pick, but we are going to record a podcast right after this, so that Masters pick is going to be right in that pod. So you're going to have to make sure you're tuning in to the pod to get
Freddie Couples. Oh, wait, no. Sorry. I wasn't supposed to. I love Freddie Couples.
If it's Freddie Couples, I would love that. That would be somebody I would cheer for 100%.
Yeah. I think he's the oldest man in the field. Him and VJ.
Oh, VJ Singh. I don't have that with the VJ Singh background there, too. So, all right. We only got about 30 seconds. Big thanks to JC for hanging out with us for a little bit. So
no problem. A big shout out to all those track and field athletes that broke records at the Stout Elite last week. Lauren McCullough continues to just be on a crazy pace. The Hartmans and lots of other ones. So
good stuff. So, all right. That's going to do it for us. Same place, same time tomorrow morning. We'll wrap up the college basketball season. Hopefully the Brewers off to a nice start as well. So have a good rest of your day. We'll talk to you all again tomorrow morning.